As people stroll through Salati's alley beneath ancient oaks and blooming bushes, they can't help but lean in and trade stories about the Kingdom of Grandale. They claim they can summon heroes from another world, people with special powers, so they can battle the Dark Lord. Yeah, that call really happened about a month ago, and ever since, the whole city won't stop buzzing about it. Everyone's got theories about those mysterious heroes, but can they really stop the ancient evil before it strikes again? The girl crammed in the back seat of the carriage suddenly perked up, like something clicked in her chest. Could these really be the same heroes from all those ancient legends? Her eyes lit up with pure excitement as she leaned in, drinking every word from the traveler's chatter. And she wasn't wrong. People believe that some rare souls can wield two extraordinary abilities at the same time, and maybe every one of them is packed with power beyond imagination. Ancient manuscripts spill the truth about them. No doubt about it, under conditions like these, they'll slam the Dark Lord down in an instant, and once the war kicks off, even these so-called merchants will rake in profits too, because the traders were already salivating for a sweet deal, hands rubbing together like payday was about to explode. Real heroes. Tina was completely hooked on the storyteller's tales. She'd picture brutal warriors wiping out enemies in one strike, and noble knights ready to throw themselves into danger for the sake of justice. In her dreams, she already saw a queen who would light a fire in everyone with a speech about why humanity matters, driving the youth forward and turning boys into real heroes. And Tina was absolutely sure of it. With defenders like that, the kingdom had nothing to fear. She just had asterisk to meet someone like that, once at least, and she truly believed her dream would come true, so that faith kept her standing tall even when life felt totally gray and dull. Miss Tina smiled at the thought that in this world, everyone can finally stare straight into their own power through the skills matrix. Because once upon a time, people couldn't even dream of what they were truly capable of. Between all these eager people, you just know some showed up from way out of town, already buzzing to be the very first to test this wild new feature, dying to see something strange about themselves, like their eyes can't stop shining with pure anticipation. How many fresh dreams get smashed by harsh reality, and how many hopes turn to dust the moment the truth hits? Not every expectation comes true, only the ones earned through grit rise as real heroes. Until recently, Akino's Canada was just a run-of-the-mill high school kid. No crazy powers, no standout looks, and absolutely nothing that screamed, chosen one, in a crowd full of teenagers. Every morning, same routine, same grind. He splashed his face, tore into breakfast, and geared up for school, then flashed polite hellos at every neighbor like the kind of kid who'd make manners look effortless. A month has already crashed by since those high school kids got yanked into the Grandale Kingdom. At first, it felt like a nightmare you couldn't wake up from, but little by little, they started getting used to those towering castles and rolling green hills. After the summoning, nothing exciting happens, just the Dark Lord still roaming free, doing whatever he wants, and that terrifies the kingdom's people and every single one of the summoned souls. Tamaki Saki blurted out, "Canada." She demanded he make more kinds of onigiri since they'd all been tasting the same, and he stared back at her with annoyed disbelief. She used to be the class monitor, quiet, modest, almost harmless. Nobody would guess she's trained to be an assassin, but the second battle starts, she vanishes into a blur, an invisible shadow that darts between enemies the instant they turn their heads. Suddenly, a crowd of girls swarmed around him and they started venting. There's no manga here, no magazines either. In their world, they just get a fresh stack every week like clockwork, and he froze, then blurted, "Whoa, tone it down a bit, okay?" He said nice and steady, "My shop only sells tea bottles, and yeah, I've got weights too," but he couldn't wrap his head around how to grow his business or level up his skills. Hang in there a bit. Then one of the girls snapped, calling him rude. Honestly, he was done, sick and tired of everyone sneering at his skills, like it was a joke. His workshop had power, air conditioning, and proper lights, and even the bathroom was stacked with real paper and a flush toilet. There was also a work computer on site, right there, so you could place orders the moment you wanted. Once he understood all that, confidence surged through him, because for people in modern times, a skill like this is priceless, even if the selection of goods is that big. Sometimes the locals storm into the shop and trade their own treasures for items from this world, and every single one of them just stares in awe at the local wisdom, while Akano Sekinata happily hands them something fresh and new. Sometimes they even slide him exotic fruits, so survival is never the issue. Then, while he's chowing down on an apple, knock, knock, hits the door again. The shop owner just sighs like it's routine, because that bell always means one thing: someone's here. Normal folks from the third group keep getting dropped by Kazuma Shinji, Taylor, and Kawasaki Ryo. They show up sometimes, they call too, and the best part, they can't stop raving about the local vibe, especially that bathroom. This time when they peeked inside, they found Tamaki sprawled on a futon right in the middle of the store. When they demanded what was going on, she just shrugged and said it felt comfy and cozy there, and nobody could wrap their heads around why she'd pick a place that weird to just relax. The shop owner snapped at Kawasaki to get out, saying he didn't need any boasting here. Then Rio blurted out a frantic apology, trying to explain himself, only for his face to flush crimson like a tomato. Staring at all of it, he probably thought, man, they're loud. And still, peace and focus were exactly what he needed, even if he wasn't really judging anyone right now. The real mission was finding balance in everything. You're stuck in class when bam, your world flips, and suddenly you're dropped into a place you've never seen before. So yeah, welcome, heroes. Prusai, the ruler of the eastern kingdom of Great Eliu, watched Akinasai that day, and Akinasai finally understood the new world's strange rules. He saw a whole universe of chances waiting for him, but he also knew one thing. To seize them, he'd have to throw himself in completely. In this world, there's a monster everyone fears, the Dark Lord. From what he knows, it's basically a demon king, or something just as terrifying. And he's the one who forged the very monsters that wrecked the world and left nothing but chaos behind. Out of those 7 nations on the continent, the Dark Lord has already wiped out 2, smashing them to pieces with his monsters. To beat the looming crisis, Grandel didn't just pray. He smashed into the royal library, found ancient manuscripts, and unleashed a ritual that tore open a path to summon heroes from another world. The secret knowledge that had been trapped in dusty books for centuries finally lit the fuse, and the results are known by everyone. Every one of the 31 students from their class was here, packed together for something deadly serious. Some clung to friends in terrified little huddles, others stared around like, where are we? And one person was already trying to piece together what the heck was going on. Honestly, even the world's people couldn't believe it. Normally, only 3 or 4 heroes get summoned, but this time, a whole crowd of them showed up. The model student, Yudo, looking sharp as ever, finally snapped the silence, because she had to get something crucial from the ruler. Kanata couldn't stand the guy. He was downright unbearable. He reminded her they were still just school kids, then leaned in and asked, would she grant any students wish to slip back to the old world without ever having to fight the Dark Lord? The queen snapped back that they couldn't afford it, so Tamaki Saki pressed, why? And the queen went totally blank, looking confused and strangely scared. Something dark and deadly hid behind her refusal, and even the village chief's voice started to shake. The ruler shot back that they don't have the magic to yank the portal back open, but if they can crush the Dark Lord first, then maybe they'll snag the power and pull everyone through with the right spell. They still couldn't see it. Going home meant crushing this lord first, because he wasn't just strong anymore. He was a brutal wall blocking family and ordinary life, and now there was zero retreat. The Saramoth didn't back down for a second. He fired off another question, stubborn as a rock, even daring to stare the queen straight in the eyes, and somehow still acting downright rude the whole time. He reminded them they were just ordinary people, so how on earth could they ever beat the Dark Lord, the one who crushed even the bravest warriors in this world? The queen told them not to fret at all. Turns out they've unlocked special powers the people from the old world can't even touch, and the legends are clear. Only heroes with bizarre, one-of-a-kind abilities can hurt the Dark Lord. She said if they just checked their status, their abilities would be right there for them to see, so Akino Shikanada couldn't stand it and started hunting for the powers he had. A system window suddenly popped up, screaming that the hero's status was getting scanned, and every ability was being verified. So what happened? Did that store finally open, or what? He was out here dreaming up slick martial arts, or at the very least magic, then wishing for a whole harem of elf girls, cat girls, and fairies, and yeah, no luck at all. The very next day, right after they were summoned to the royal palace, the heroes finally got a real training program, starting with their first brutal mission, picking the exact abilities they'd use to take on the Dark Lord. Hiramachi Yudo can't catch a break. His friend Aikno's Kanata keeps getting on his nerves, and then fate slams him with 2 insane powers. Immortality with up to 5 possible rebirths, and the gift of the goddess, total mastery of all magic, plus a special kind of protection. I couldn't bring myself to call it unfair. And it's Karamaki who steps up first, leading the main team that can finally clash head-on with the Dark Lord. The team's stacked with Kanamori Jun, a water mage, Kanai Miyoka the healer, Savano Ludi, a deadly marksman, Yuki Saki, a swordsman, Natori Mitsuki, a shield mage, Mindsuki Yuhai, the spear bearer, Kirishima Masaki, an ice mage, and Tamaki Saki, an assassin. The second squad and the first groups, reservists, rush in to replace the wounded. Then came the third unit Canada got assigned to, boom, declared unfit for combat, and he couldn't help but be thrilled beyond belief. Even Sujita Yuki, who can sling fire magic, cracked the main roster too, and the main character swore he wasn't jealous for a second, but no matter how he tried to bury it, envy gnawed at his confidence like poison. A month after the recruitment, Right after the third squad started, the pressure finally cracked. People who couldn't handle the brutal training and that strange new world slipped away to the rope store, and soon the intense talks went straight off the rails, turning into non-stop chatter about onigiri. That didn't bring him any comfort. He kept asking himself when he'd finally get the chance to crush the Dark Lord, and whether he even had the strength to survive it. Then Tamaki Saki spotted his crushed expression and knew something was terribly wrong. She bolted straight to the hero the second it happened, desperate to learn what he'd been through. Her wild concern even startled him, and her real, heartfelt care made him feel ashamed for how cold he'd been. Flustered, the hero blurted out that everyone's got important thoughts. Yeah, he has them too. They don't pop into his head that often, but when they do, they slam into him and leave a real mark. But why was she really here with her friends, the guests from the first squad? He couldn't shake how weird it felt to see them inside these walls, like it was either a direct challenge or a reckless test fate cooked up, at least from his perspective. Tamaki answered in a calm voice, because she'd come all the way here for one thing: cool air and a restroom with water, and honestly, it was perfect, until the shop owner stepped in and demanded she not sit on the table. She kept going, voice shaking. I really don't want to go back there. Most people don't sign up to seriously fight the Dark Lord. It's one thing to hear those legends around a campfire, and totally another to stare real evil in the face and realize they're expecting you to be a true hero. And Akinos thinks the same thing. She's sure most people aren't even remotely pumped about what's going down, and the girl everyone calls Assassin agrees too. Almost nobody's buying this chaos. Tamaki told the hero straight up that she had zero interest in beating that Dark Lord, and when he pushed again asking if she was joking, her face said it loud. She wasn't joking at all, she was dead serious. Maybe she was just running on empty. Listen, if the first team she steps up with can't beat him, they'll be trapped here forever, with no escaping and no lounging on the sidelines. Because this isn't just talk, every single one of them has an invisible job to finish, and it all comes down to one thing: they have to win. The girl shot back that everything would be fine. She said they could handle it all. And then, out of nowhere, she promised she'd protect Kanata, and you could tell it struck his pride. Like deep down he suddenly felt useless. She just flashed a heartfelt smile and said nothing back, and that warm, real grin wiped every worry clean off your mind in an instant. Tamaki Saki gave her friends a quick goodbye and slipped into her room, while Kanata let out a breath of relief. Finally, everyone was gone and the silence hit like a wave. He stared at the door, thinking whether he should leave it open until they came back. Every job was already finished, so there was nothing left to do but wait. Kanamori burst into view out of nowhere. Someone's missing from the squad, Minazuki Yohei, the spearman. And yep, he really shows up here a lot. Kuramoto also admitted he was freaking out because that wanted guy skipped training again, like it hit him out of nowhere. His whole face drained of color in an instant, and his eyes started darting left and right. He had to scramble for an excuse for why he'd vanished, so he shot back an apology and swore he wasn't feeling well. Then he chose to crash in the store, since the air conditioning there was a lifesaver. But Kanata caught wind of the hero's painfully overly formal wording. Kanamori Green flashed that weird, self-satisfied grin and muttered that he got it all, his smirk turning razor-sharp as a chilling glint sparked in his eyes. So what the heck was he plotting? He kicked off the mocking, and right here is where the heroes of the third squad pile in, using this shop as their safe haven to rest, back each other up, and remind themselves they matter. With a grin, he tossed out, honestly, it's the perfect spot for the unwanted. The water mage kept talking, saying there was barely anything left here, and soon the whole place would be swallowed by grass. Then 3 people shot back on the spot. Who does he think he is? Just because some ordinary otaku got a strong skill, he doesn't get to act arrogant. Minazuki stepped in, rattled by the tension rising by the second, and told them it wasn't worth being rude to those two. His hands trembled, and his voice cracked with the kind of fear that screams, something's really wrong. Suddenly, a brutal wave of water slammed into the store and swallowed everyone whole, Kinos included. Water blasted from every direction like an invisible archer had perfect aim. What just happened? Did that man duck behind the counter to dodge becoming the next victim? Kanamori stood there, dead calm, watching the chaos like he'd planned every second of it. The water surged so hard that the heroes didn't just float. Every neatly stacked thing on those shelves got yanked right off too, like the flood had a grip strong enough to drag it all under, and nobody had a clue how much longer this magic disaster would keep going or how to stop what it would leave behind. So that's his special power. He knew he was strong, but not this strong. He told the water mage to stop, yet the mage never even answered, drowning in his own magic like he couldn't hear a thing. How dare that nobody punk even try to challenge Kanamori, the main team's own beast. His grin didn't look friendly one bit, it screamed danger. Kanamori rose his hands slowly, and the water streams around him whipped into a violent frenzy. He let out an ominous laugh and couldn't believe it. no matter the world, scum still stays scum, even those he'd been clashing with just minutes ago. Right in the middle of the chaos, water crashing, classmates panicking, he caught a voice that was weirdly calm, yet dead confident, and it yanked his attention around instantly, because nobody believed anyone could survive after the way he showed up. So yeah, he couldn't ignore it, because Kuramachi Yudo himself was calling him out, and he had something huge to say to Kanata. The water mage hadn't dragged him off yet, so he'd better stop and listen before things went sideways. The moment the squad leader stepped forward, Kanamori dropped his hands at once, and the elements snapped to attention like they'd been commanded. Now his eyes burned with respect and curiosity. As Akino clawed his way back to consciousness and spat out the water he'd swallowed, the squad commander strode up to him himself and greeted him by name. "Hello, Kanata." His voice stayed cool, but you could feel the mockery hiding underneath. The boy lifted his gaze and admitted he never thought his classmate would hit him with that kind of cruelty, especially when they hadn't even talked in ages. A whole month isn't an excuse to act like that. And through it all, not one single muscle on Kuramash's face even twitched. What was he about to tell him? Yudo kicked off the conversation with a stiff, business-like tone, like he was reading from Alibi Brief, and his voice sounded way too serious, almost official, so the other guy snapped to attention and Yudo. He couldn't decide if he actually recognized his classmate. So he wanted Canada to get out of the city. What was he even saying? Like, for real? The leader of the first squad snapped that it was all because of Canada, and now the weaker guys are starting to slip, losing touch with reality. It wasn't just that useless third squad. Hell, even the main squad would sprint to the Aknosi store instead of touching the real work, and discipline crumbled so hard that Yuda had no idea how to stop the creeping tide of laziness. The boy admitted he was scared too, and you could tell it cost him to even find the words, because buried in that struggle was a bitter truth that still mattered. Their journey keeps roaring forward. If they want to crawl back to their old world, they have to crush the Dark Lord no matter what it costs, and that only happens if they lock arms, unite, and move as one unstoppable team. Then he snapped that Canada's power wasn't just pointless, it was outright poison, throwing the heroes off what actually mattered, and that he should leave this city or get kicked out all the same, but would the shop owner really be driven out of the kingdom? The boy chose to negotiate, because he refused to lose the one thing that mattered most right then. He told Kuramachi he understood, then demanded a little time to think it all through. Honestly, getting dropped into a totally unfamiliar world would crush anyone, but since I knew the squad leader, I didn't even bother hoping for sympathy. He just laughed and told Kanata to think it over, but only until morning. Maybe he'd finally pity the kid and toss him a few coins for the road, if he dropped to his knees and begged, while Kanamori smirked from behind the official, and the boy shot back that everything was fine. Yudo kept hyping his team like they were the only real heroes, swearing victory over the Dark Lord was locked in, so the defeat he called Canada could finally breathe, because it was already decided, and the shop owner couldn't shake that word. Inevitable. Kuramachi blurted that he didn't just dream of winning, he dreamed of sprinting home and saving the modern world with his own hands, and Akano stared at him like he'd officially lost his mind. Staring straight into Kanata's eyes, he spits out his wild plans, how modern society kills freedom of thought, and how, with powers so unreal, he's about to come back like a god and force everyone to obey. And right here the boy realized it. This man wasn't just angry, he'd completely snapped. His eyes blazed like wildfire, that eerie grin stretching across his face, and in that moment he became even more unpredictable than before. Or maybe that was the real him after all. Either way, all that mattered was Kanata getting out of this city, and Kuramati felt a huge wave of relief when he realized he'd been understood right. His thin lips curled into a smug, satisfied smile. Before he left, he sized him up with a smug stare and ordered him to pray for victory over the Dark Lord, and the way he said it sounded so certain, like the win was already stuffed in his pocket, even though the battle hadn't even started yet. After a while, Kino stood outside his shop and felt pure relief. He'd made it. All he had to do was shut it down and start it back up again, and then everything would click into place. But Tamaki had no clue what he was even talking about. She just found out Minazuki and her whole team were in serious trouble. When she finally got there, the store was nearly wrecked, and she demanded to know if Kuramachi really meant to let Canada walk away from the Grand L Kingdom. This is way too low. Nobody can just tolerate that. The girl swore she'd tell him everything straight to his face, like she genuinely cared about what was really going on. The boy blinked in shock, then couldn't help grinning, because wait, wasn't she supposed to be one of the chosen? She was on the first team right alongside Kanamori and Kuramoto. Doesn't this slam her into an awkward mess? He never wanted anyone from the first squad anywhere near this, and Tamaki Saki was exactly the kind of name he was trying to avoid. She told him, in this group of chosen ones, each person's involvement is different, and I already explained that to you, so listen closer. But yeah, everything's okay. Still, Kanata didn't buy it at first. Kuramachi is the one burning the hardest in the hero training program. Right alongside him are the water mage Kanamori, the ice mage Kirishima, the shield mage Mitsuki, and the swordsman Saki. The rest of them, especially that girl assassin, mostly just lounge around the palace, and lately a bunch of them have stopped training altogether because they've lost interest. Turns out only 5 are still truly on the move. At first, everything was totally different. Everyone showed up for lectures like clockwork, but the moment monster hunting practicals kicked in, the whole group started going at it in their own way. Recently, they put on a full-on showdown with orcs, and Kirishima, the ice mage, rained ice arrows on them, freezing the whole crowd in pure terror. Kanata said that after what happened with Kanamori earlier, nothing like this ever shocked him again. She shot back that Kanamori was even worse, someone who took sick pleasure in torturing enemies and dragging out their deaths, picking the most brutal methods just to savor every second. No wonder she couldn't stand him. Then the boy snapped, asking what she thought about that psychopath, and Tamaki instantly clocked he meant Kuramachi. She hated how much she already knew, but she spilled everything anyway, because this talk could spare the boy a mountain of trouble. From the outside, he looks like the model student, diligent, flawless, and crushing every task with 0 mistakes, never skipping a single training. That's why people in the palace sing his praises, and his perfection floors everyone, but behind that perfect mask, something darker is hiding. But the girl finally confessed she'd been snapping at him for ages, and lately, even everyone else was starting to fear him a little. The hero pressed her again, like he was nudging her to spill the truth and explain exactly what was going on. After practice, the old class leader kicked off the story with one simple promise. Everyone made it home safe, no surprises at all. Yet the second practice ended, Kuramachi was already sprinting to the Crusaders' barracks, and Kanata couldn't shake the feeling that he'd only imagined the whole thing. So Yudo stays up every night alone with these gorgeous Crusaders. The hero teases him, straight up calling him a chatterbox, and to keep the laughs going, he throws in that Tamaki's priorities and images are totally weird, like he caught her off guard on the spot. Turns out Kuramachi hooked up with the queen, and now everyone treats him like the next ruler, so Minazuki didn't dare argue with him either. Kanata figured it out fast. The man's got real fear in his bones after everything that's happened lately. But if they were wrong, they'd get nailed for plotting against the royal court's darling and face brutal punishment. The girl's eyes widened when she realized just how impossible it had become to even talk to the arrogant commander of the first squad. After Lord Kuramachi got smashed, Kanado couldn't stop thinking. He just knew something rotten was brewing, while Tamaki Saki threw in the towel, then sprawled out a blanket right on the shop floor. Hours were slipping by, and dawn was barely a few hours away. Then, with that psychopath on the throne, a ruthless feud snapped into place between him and Kanata. By the time the day's panic crushed in, the hero couldn't even shut his eyes, and he let out a heavy, defeated sigh. Akino prayed that Tamaki could somehow make the leader of the first unit second-guess himself, but deep down, he wondered if it was smarter to step aside. Right then, while he was stuck in his thoughts, the girl assassin was already slipping into her 10th dream. Flaming arrows slammed into the shop windows out of thin air with a thunderous bang, and blazing flashes exploded through the room, jolting the hero so hard he nearly lost his nerve. The young man sprinted over to wake his friend up. At first, she was totally lost, until Canada grabbed her hand and confidently steered her deeper inside, holding her so tight it felt like he wouldn't let go. Half asleep, the girl couldn't make sense of what was happening. Everything felt foggy, like her mind was underwater, until he told her they had to check the surveillance cameras, because maybe they caught the person who tried to interfere. Out of nowhere, the queen came charging by on horseback, flanked by armed guards. So there were the Crusaders. Matcha ducked behind her classmate, because she was absolutely not ready for this. Kanata never saw it coming. Grandel's own head showed up in person just to deal with him. The hero suddenly clocked it. She came to kick him out on Kuramachi's orders, no doubt about it. Tamaki wouldn't buy it for a second. Why drag things into something that messy? Maybe they were just trying to scare him off or betting he'd vanish on his own. Then from far down the halls, a ringing voice shattered the silence, vibrating through every corridor and shaking the air itself. And with every second that passed, the sound sharpened until it was unmistakable. Queen Gradelay Crusade had arrived, and she was making sure everyone knew she was here. Turns out the church's decision branded the shop owner a heretic, like he was secretly backing some dark lord, and even if I missed parts of what they said, the result was clear. The kingdom banished him for good. And that's not even the worst of it. How could Akino, who basically lived in the store, really have racked up all those horrible crimes in just the last month. This has to be a total lie, right? Tamaki stepped in for him, insisting he'd never do something like that, and everyone could see it. This wasn't support. It was a glaring, blown-up lie, and yet somehow it looked like she was just pretending not to notice the truth. The hero, who'd been framed again and again, slumped with his head hanging over the table, and it was obvious Kuramachi had just spewed lies to torch his reputation. How could someone sink that low? The queen kept hammering into him without giving him even a breath to think, then demanded he submit right now and flee the country, because if he didn't, she'd burn him and the whole shop to the ground. He couldn't even process it. If he couldn't dodge this nightmare, then he had one job: get Tamaki out alive. He jabbed at the back door and barked for her to run now while there was still time. The girl killer just stared, totally thrown. She swore she'd never dump him here alone, even urged them to run together. But the criminal snapped back that the hunt was already on, and if she stayed by his side, she'd get dragged into the same deadly danger. The store owner basically threw in the towel, but right then, he realized he had a choice, and his words clung to the air like a weight. He stared around his store like it might be the last time he'd ever see it. The girl whispered again and again that she didn't want this, her voice shaking like fragile glass on the verge of breaking, while pure fear and crushing indecision stared back from her eyes. She dropped her gaze and blushed, and it hit him. She was still keeping that promise. Whatever happens, she'll always protect him. Tears welled up in her eyes, and Canada couldn't believe it. Was the class monitor really this sensitive all the time? Aquin brushed her soft hair with gentle care, whispering, "Don't worry," his warm fingers gliding through every silky strand like he was trying to pour his calm right into her. He told her, "If you break out and we meet again, I'll let you use the bathroom, and I'll even grab more seaweed for the guinea pig, too. Just listen and obey me." The girl's jaw dropped at that answer. She shoved him out and told him to leave. In the end, she showed up at that store every single day, not because she needed anything, but because he worked there. The hero didn't even catch what the girl killer was trying to whisper. He grabbed her and shoved her out the door to keep her safe. Kanata tossed back a few goofy lines, swore he'd pray for his squad to beat the Dark Lord, then told her to stay safe until the very end. And when Tamaki's eyes filled with tears, she admitted she never met anyone so weirdly awesome before. She snapped at him not to die and demanded he keep her promise close. Kanata just flicked his hand like it meant nothing, but her words burned into his head. For a moment, he froze, staring after Tamaki as she vanished. The moment eerie sounds crackled behind him, the boy whipped around, heart pounding. Aquino looked the guards dead in the eye, said he was ready to surrender and wouldn't fight back, and his whole appearance screamed, plain as day, that he carried no weapon. They closed in on the boy, yanking their swords up until the blades hovered at his throat, razor-sharp and ready, yet Kanata stayed ice-cold on the outside, while a storm of fury raged inside his chest. The queen backed his plan to surrender without hesitation. Honestly, it didn't look like a terrible move for a criminal. Then the hero lifted his hands, and she watched him with that rock-solid confidence, like she was already convinced he was guilty. From above him, Cruz told him they'd probably never cross paths again. Maybe that's exactly why she snapped that he was worthless. Then the guards shoved him out, and he stumbled away, clueless about where he was supposed to go. The doors slammed shut behind him, and the boy trudged on, swallowed by a storm of sad thoughts. Why did life do this to him? What if he really was useless, and where did he mess up so badly? As the sky swallowed the last bit of light, the hero was still clueless about where to go, and that brutal uncertainty kept grinding him down. As he pushed deeper into the Saladas forest, darkness swallowed him whole. Thick trees tangled overhead so tight not a single scrap of light could slip through. Leaves hissed beneath his feet, and branches snapped with every step, turning his every movement into a nervous, unsettling countdown. And even the fields near Grandma's house looked less grim in that kind of dark. He spun his head around in pure terror, and a nasty chill crawled down his spine like the night had teeth and just woke up. The hero is begging to storm back to the city right now, but if they catch him, they'll burn him alive since he got expelled. If this keeps up, Kanata is going to turn into yet another fallen hero from their class. In the dead of night, deep in the forest, one tiny rustle of leaves is enough to spark pure terror. Aquino keeps darting his gaze around, listening to every tiny rustle, and the second a branch snaps or an owl hoots, his heart goes wild. Then it hits him, one crucial thing he can't afford to forget. If he can conjure a store just like that, then doesn't it mean he can summon it anywhere he wants with a thought? So he tested it on the spot. He commanded the store to appear right here and now, and his instincts nailed it. As Canada scanned every camera in the store, wild, vicious beasts crept in on him, each feed blazing with their approach, and their synchronized moves screamed one thing: they were minutes from attacking. Oh no, they've boxed him in, and nowhere is left to run. The boy finally clocked it. His whole body was pulled toward that light, so he had to snuff it out fast before the store turned into a trap. He scanned the room but totally missed the switch. Then panic crashed in. His breathing turned tight and his heart started hammering like crazy in his chest. Sweat rained off Kanata's forehead, blurring everything as he tore through the area. Gone. He can't be, can he? Akino's stomach dropped when he realized, horror-struck, that he was the owner of this tiny shop, so of course he never had to switch the lights off. So tell me, is there truly no switch anywhere? And wait, can you really kill the lights with a clap of your hands? Kant knew he had to block the entrances. Anything was better than standing there helpless, so he yanked out boxes and stacked them by the door for cover. And just as he finished, sudden rustling snapped his nerves awake. He spun toward the noise, and there they were. Two predators already inside the building, yellow eyes burning like tiny lanterns, saliva dripping from their gaping jaws as their terrifying fangs flashed. He could only stand there silent, praying, because these things weren't any stray dog or wolf, not even close. They looked like nightmares made flesh, and his mind went blank, like it couldn't breathe it, because if they chose to attack, that would be it, his end. He's finally accepted the brutal truth. Once they're in, they're going to wipe out every single item on those shelves. Kanata only wanted them nowhere near him, but then he accidentally dropped something, and right away, that tiny mistake grabbed their attention like a magnet. The boy thought it was over, until those wolf-like creatures snapped awake, scanning the air for the main character. They sniffed every whisper of scent, their ears locked on like living antennas, and their instincts screamed one thing: the prey is close. The search didn't drag at all. Before he could even catch his breath, that strange, terrifying creature barreled straight toward him, while another sprinted right behind it, and for a heartbeat, time itself stretched out until every second felt like an eternity. Luckily, the door snapped shut, giving Kanata a split second to choose his next move. Then he didn't hesitate. He sprinted through every escape plan his mind could throw at him. With no time to breathe, nerves hit him like a freight train. First thing he clocked was that fire extinguisher just sitting there, ready for an emergency. And honestly, he didn't care what he grabbed as long as it could help, so finding it felt like pure luck. He yanked the pin from the fire extinguisher, swung the nozzle at the intruders, and shouted, "Hey, wolves, how do you like that?" Then a thick burst of foam exploded out and blasted the closest wolf straight in the face. They bared their teeth, but pure fear held them back from coming any closer, like they never saw that move coming. Then Canada straightened up and felt confident again. Keep pushing like that from here on out, and they'll scatter for good. Suddenly, wait, what is happening? Are they literally crawling through the foam? What a disaster. The fire extinguisher only fired for a few seconds, then immediately snapped and failed. And the guy, he kept talking to it like it was alive, like it could understand him. Seriously, what kind of stunt is this? One step more and he could have died right here. Knowing that fire extinguisher couldn't save him by itself, Kanata let out a nervous laugh that shook in his throat. His shoulders trembled, his fingers clamped down on the empty canister, and the sound bounced off the walls like it didn't belong in the dead silence. Despair crashed over him like a tidal wave, and he swore this was where he'd bite the dust, nothing but fresh meat for the first monsters that got to him, his mind blank and spinning as helplessness crushed every last thought. He huffed out a breath, slumped against the door, and behind it those hungry wolves, yeah, something just like them, were already tearing at the walls. A fire extinguisher sat within reach, but the boxes he'd counted on to save him were smashed and scattered all over the place. Mom, Dad, the cat, yeah, that little troublemaker. They're probably freaking out, wondering where he is. Then their faces keep flashing in his head, one after another. They fuel him, sure, but they also shred something deep inside his soul. He couldn't stop wondering whether Tamada had actually made her escape. Then his mind raced straight to her bright smile and that stubborn hope. Did she really get out? Had she paid the price? He told himself he had to keep living for his family and for her. If she suddenly learned he died right here, would her tears break loose? Because in their last meeting, her eyes held worry, maybe even a flicker of tenderness, and it makes you wonder, did he really mess up? Those thoughts never let him breathe easy, and they weren't even that close to the truth. So why was the hero thinking of her in what might be his final moments? Did he feel something real beyond friendship or pity, or was his mind just hiding behind a subconscious excuse? Looks like the chaos finally died down. The boy flicked his eyes to the cameras, then leaned in and checked behind the door like his life depended on it, and that dead silence. It felt wrong, almost creepy, because with everything that's happened lately, not a single sound should have been here, not even a rustle. Behind that door, he found his shop wrecked, shattered windows, food splattered all over the place, and every corner screaming with the marks of intruders who'd already bolted. It looked like he made it. Canada shielded his face from the glaring sun, swearing the monsters flinched at the morning light, and though his body screamed with exhaustion and tension, the truth hit hardest. He was still alive. A message suddenly blasted across the screen. His store level had shot up. The hero froze, completely blindsided. What just happened? Those weren't just voices in his head, were they? After that brutal, endless day, Kanata couldn't even tell what was real anymore, and the rapid-fire events almost drove him out of his mind. Kanata remembered he could check his own condition at any moment just by thinking about it, and he seized that chance right now. When he saw how he performed, it hit him. He'd leveled up for real, because he defended the store and held the line. That's the whole point. And then he spotted a bunch of fresh changes. So much new stuff had been added that he practically couldn't wait to dive in and explore every last bit. But all of this would come later. Kanata crumpled to the floor, burying his face in the marble like it could swallow him whole, while the last few hours blitzed through his mind in frantic flashes, battling monsters, slipping out of danger, and scrambling with everything he had just to stay alive. This day tossed one chaos after another his way, and the poor shop owner just wanted one thing: sleep. Fatigue kept crashing over him in waves until his thoughts blurred and vanished into fog. Pretty soon, sleep hit him hard enough that the clattering hooves outside the window and any scary sounds faded away, while the shadows stretching along Tina's path only grew darker. The silence was way too early for him to celebrate, because the noise still yanked him awake. Kanata cracked his eyes open, and pure, blazing fury surged in them. This was already his second sleepless night. What's going on this time? Are the Grandale's fighters on his trail again? Nah, if they were, Kanata would have been dead by now. Still, just beyond the edge of town, someone is screaming like they're already dying. The boy rested his elbows on the table, lost in thought. If not him, then who? The cameras catch every detail crystal clear, so there's only one move left. He has to handle it himself, personally. The rope suddenly peeked from behind the tree and spotted a carriage parked nearby, surrounded by dark figures, while the horses jerked their ears nonstop, sensing danger. This was a bandit attack, no doubt. When he looked closer, his stomach dropped. One man was stomping another to death with his feet, while his partner just sat there and watched, dead bodies all around, and more bags and accomplices lurking behind the crew. What a nightmare! I can't believe this. He had to bolt out of here before anyone spotted him, but it was already too late. Strange figures came back to him, and in the dark their eyes burned with pure evil. A teenage girl bolted past them, yanking the hero's focus away, and they yelled after her. But she never once glanced back. Sprinting that hard had her lungs screaming and her heart about to burst out of her chest. Kanata clocked her presence and honestly couldn't believe she'd made it out alive. Her face was pure terror, fresh tears sparkling in her eyes as her shoulders shook and her fingers clenched with panic, telling the whole story without a single word. Then it hit him: he had to protect her no matter what. But how? Fear clawed at his chest while the urge to act burned brighter, yet no answer showed up. Panic slammed into him, stealing every clear thought and leaving him unable to think straight. Assistant, then it hit him. He couldn't take them down solo, not with them armed and that girl sprinting away, each of her tiny steps smashing into his mind like a brutal sting. I hear the bandits whispering to each other, and it hits me. They're not here to kill her. They want her alive, and they're looking to have some sick fun. The moment I clock what their words really mean, rage burns hot in his veins. Instead of fear, that boy burned with justice. His fists clenched tight because he couldn't stand to leave that girl in trouble. After all, he was an alien from another world, and he carried a special responsibility to help anyone who needed it, even if the kingdom had banished him. Then it hit him: his powers, and he chose to plant a shop right here, building it with a weird, awkward spell. But come on, for a good cause, you can swallow a little embarrassment. Nobody saw it coming. Then the girl's eyes flared with hope, and the bandits froze, stunned. And right when the timing hit, Kanata yanked the store blinds up in one sharp move. The moment she heard the invitation, the girl darted behind her savior, shaking so hard her knees almost gave out, and she fought to hold her breath, anything to keep from being noticed. When the store awning finally dropped, the bandits scrambled to switch to leg shots, realizing too late that bows were useless in that setup. So if they'd reacted faster, they could have saved 2 lives. Inside the store, he's finally safe. Now Kanata has to figure out his next move fast, because trouble is already bearing down on him, and with every thought tangled up, his heart pounds like a drum while the worst-case scenarios keep spiraling in his head. Watching the chaos on the camera feeds, he saw the bandits scrambling to force their way in, and it only made his stomach drop because there were way too many of them. They moved like one, splitting into tight little groups to choke off every inch of territory. Kanata thought the nightmare was finally over. Then boom, a brand new problem crashed in, and strangers who'd found their courage stood behind him, stunned and desperate to thank him. Only now did he finally get a proper look at her. Those big eyes of hers lit up with pure happiness, but you could still tell the wound hadn't healed. She held herself tight, unsure, like she expected danger to jump out again, and Kanata just stared, thinking she was pretty as can be. He even joked that she could be an elf, but he shut that idea down fast, because before anyone could dwell on it, strangers in black were already barging in, and when the girl's fear hit again, They had no choice but to act right then and there. While the criminals slammed a spear through the canopy, everyone could see it, plain as day to the naked eye and even on the cameras. And once the guy checked the feed on his computer, he realized he'd be fighting 3 bandits, so he started to mentally gear up for the clash. Kanata seethed because of course the fire shutters wouldn't have lasted, especially in a moment like that. The good lady was so on edge she kept yanking his jacket, like she needed to confirm he was actually there. When he spun around, there she was staring at him with pure hope. That honest look could melt anyone's heart in seconds. If he were the kind of superhero who fixes everything, he would have saved her beautifully and easily ages ago. But reality isn't some fairy tale ending. Canada scooted in to steady the little girl, met her gaze, and swore he'd draw the bandits. Attention the second they crashed through, giving her the one chance to slip away. He promised her that as long as he stood by her side, she had nothing to fear. He'd protect her no matter what. Hearing that, she blinked in surprise. Warmth crept into her cheeks, and a tiny smile tugged at her lips. For her, that moment could only mean one thing, pure joy. The window shattered with a loud crack, and the bandits' shouts tore through the air, so they all spun around in panic. 3 villains were already inside, demanding to see the kid they called Canada, while they smashed and wrecked everything in sight. They look furious and baffled. What kind of building is this? They're done playing games when one of them suddenly spots the shut door and jabs at it like, "They're in there. The victim and the rescuer are hiding behind that door." Canada was starting to relax, thinking they were finally in the clear. Then a sword slammed toward him at the door and began slicing. He ducked hard to stay unseen, heart pounding, scrambling to figure out his next move fast. Then it hit him. Yesterday he'd chased off those awful monsters with a fire extinguisher. He had to grab that miracle tool again, and good news. It sat right there nearby. While the criminals reeled in shock, the girl would finally get the chance to slip away. He'd already spilled his brilliant plan to her. Then, out of nowhere, he spotted something was seriously wrong. The computer's camera catches another thief circling the store, and just like that, everything we planned is about to implode again. So what's the hero gonna do next? Strike him down and risk letting her slip away, or stop her and still fail to stop the ones inside? His first plan felt way too small, and it pissed him off. They had to move fast. An axe was already smashing through the door, and the bandits were screaming they'd kill them both. The girl crouched in the corner, fighting to keep her tears from spilling. Suddenly it all clicked, fire alarm. This was his shot to save the girl, because the attackers would never see it coming, and for him, it was the only way to rip himself free. The people of the Great but jumped at the strange roar, because this brand new tech was nothing they'd ever heard before. While the elders snapped their heads and hissed about witchcraft, the youth pressed up to the windows, desperate to spot where the noise was coming from. The boy snatched a box of matches, struck one, and raced it straight to the device hanging from the ceiling. So confident he was that even the bandits wouldn't see that kind of surprise coming. And Kanata was right. Every single one of them went from impressed to straight up terrified. When the water finally started hammering in, they didn't even get it at first. They just froze, clueless about where to run. The bandits flailed and snapped around like cornered beasts, desperate to find a way out of this deadly trap. The bandits thought they'd stumbled into magic. Then they crumpled to the floor, either stunned or slipping on the tiles, their eyes bulging as their weapons ripped free and floated into the air, yanked by some invisible power. And that noise won't just snap the bandits, focus away from their target. It'll give Kanata, hiding under the table with the stranger, the opening he needs to slip out, because if anyone catches it, they might rush in to help. Suddenly, the boy and girl caught a savage roar in the air. Could a black wolf have slipped in here? I definitely didn't want to risk it and spook this kind woman. Kanata stared with bated breath. Could these be the very same monsters that showed up here last night? Now it's time to shut off the fire alarm. Right away the water stopped blasting, the noise died down, and this place finally felt tolerable. Thanks, device, for doing exactly what you were built to do. When the bandits started screaming that they had to retreat, they ditched the wounded and bolted. Then the monsters showed up, and pure panic exploded through everyone, because nobody wants to end up as a snack. So they ran for their lives, and yeah, they really shouldn't have come here in the first place. They even forgot one of them, and the starving monster instantly swallowed the space above his tiny frame, looming over him like a nightmare. While Canada and the stranger could only pray this terror would stop soon. She huddled against him, clapped her hands over her ears, and tried to drown out the horror. The shop owner gently stroked her head to soothe her, but hearing the girl's tears still broke her heart. Then, little by little, the whole place went dead quiet, and neither the owner dared lift her gaze to check, nor did the girl dare look up either. Once he was certain she was out of danger, he declared it. No more bandits, no more wolves, everything was safe at last. Still, she didn't lift her gaze. She kept her eyes hidden behind those thick black lashes. When the noise finally died down, he could stare at her without distractions. The perfect lines of her face, her beautifully styled hair, and that neat, expensive outfit. And she clung to him like he was the only thing that could save her. Ikinos was stunned to discover that certain moments could crank one emotion into overdrive, while completely wiping out the rest. He got so swallowed up in solving the problem that he never even noticed he'd been holding a sweet girl in his arms this whole time. Kanata didn't know how to act so she wouldn't find it weird, and she just stared at him without blinking, like she was waiting for something to happen. Did he really do something pointless when all he'd been doing was saving her life? Those touches weren't meant to happen. Still, he kept trying over and over to lie to himself that he wasn't a bad person, like he could stop the guilt by sheer force. Now he had to snap out of it and get himself together. Kanano snapped in shock, because that night, the girl finally spoke up, ripping the silence with a loud shout that she was terrified, and luckily the building was empty enough that nobody could react badly to a scream like that. In this moment, every emotion hit her like a punch, so the shop owner barely managed to keep his tears in check. She pulled him into another hug and sobbed, and all he could do was stroke her blonde hair. Before the monsters came back, the hero had to rush and fix up the shop, because after everything went down, the place looked wrecked. The grating and doors were busted, and the floor was soaked through. Still, she trembled with fear and frustration. Kanata refused to let things stay like this, so he knew he had to steady this sweet stranger first, then tackle the rest. She was so small that Kanata could almost shield her whole back with his hands. Kanata still hadn't even warmed up to the idea when he suddenly heard that familiar system chime. His level had shot up again. And yeah, it irked him. So he immediately decided to rip open his stats. While everything else blurred in the chaos, the hero's eyes locked onto the light switch cover, because it definitely hadn't been there before, and the shop owner stared in shock. Why did she pop up only on the 3rd level? She could have been there from the start. Yet Kanata's rage erupted so hard it had no limits, and even the mysterious stranger flinched at the sudden violence from her usually calm protector. As she strolled through Salad, the young girl guided Kanata westward, her fear melting away as she grew brighter and bolder, even though that forest still loves to swallow people with its terrifying secrets. She hooked the seller by the hand like they'd been friends forever, and the poor guy immediately froze up, totally thrown off. If their plan holds, they'll roll into the city in just a few days. The stranger's face lit up like sunrise. She beamed with pure joy, thanked the boy for his help, and told him her name was Tina Arnush. Then he realized she was only 16. She told him she was Sahara Arnush's daughter, an up-and-coming merchant from Kaduna, and that this forest was where they were headed. He hung on every word, eyes wide with curiosity. She was 16 too, just like him, but the way she carried herself screamed independence. As Tina kept talking, her mind yanked her back to what just happened. Her carriage was bound for Grandale, loaded up for the kingdom, when bandits ambushed them out of nowhere. During the attack, the servants with us scrambled to hide our new one, but tragedy struck, and they paid with their lives. Their bodies were the reason we couldn't spot anything around that corner. And yeah, that hit the young lady hard. It left her struggling to even form a single thought. She asked to bury them and thanked Kanata again, but he wouldn't just stand by. His upbringing and morals wouldn't let him stay indifferent. Tina wanted to ask a slightly immodest question, blurted out an apology first, and still kept her manners spotless. Because even in every sentence, respect practically jumped off the page as she always thanked her partner or asked for forgiveness. She made up her mind to hunt down the truth about her savior. Was he really some legendary wizard? When she did, the truth hit him hard. He was just an ordinary guy, and even his clothes screamed it, because not once did it cross his mind that anyone would ever mistake him for a mage. Kanata pointed at his name, then declared he's officially the hero of the shop, of another world too, and tried to clear up why it wasn't exactly what he imagined. But before he could finish, Tina blurted out, "Wait, so you weren't born here?" And she looked absolutely stunned. "Wait, could you really be that legendary hero from another world?" The girl gasped, eyes popping wide, and Kanata thought she was about to collapse from sheer happiness. Truth is, Kanata had no clue this mattered that much, while Tina started spilling everything she'd heard. In the kingdom of Groundhill, everyone swears the heroes from other worlds are real, story after story, book after book, all screaming about how they crushed evil and saved everything, and this young girl just can't stop rereading them. The boy figured this place treated him like it treated King Arthur, Perseus, or Japan's Yamato Takeru. And if that was true, then being named alongside legends felt like the biggest honor in the world. But if Tina ever learned Kanata wasn't really a hero, just some outcast, she'd feel crushed, and the thought alone would send Kanata spiraling into pain. To stop spiraling, the shopkeeper leaned in and asked the girl how to escape the forest. She grinned and said she knew. The girl told him she's always on the move along trade routes because the closest city is her hometown, and then Tina stepped up as the hero's guide, fixing him with an intense stare and holding her breath for his answer. Canada couldn't even believe it was possible. Then when he asked, she lit up and said yes, and he instantly knew this girl was ready to jump in and help with everything. In the end, he finally caved and went with him, but there was still one dark worry gnawing at his mind. Even while they walked, ate, or did gymnastics, she never let go of his hand every second. Kanata just couldn't get used to it, and he started to wonder if every girl in this world was that fearless. For someone like him, who'd always been alone, it felt like a non-stop fight just to keep up. Sometimes he couldn't even mask his embarrassment, and the second she noticed, her worried face lit up as she checked on him, asking if he was really okay and if he needed her help. He shot back that he was totally fine, then blurted the girl's pet name by mistake, but he snatched the moment back fast and corrected himself before it could get awkward. In those tense moments, Kanata shoved the conversation in a different direction, then promised Tina they had to get out of that forest fast, because the monsters or bandits could come roaring back any second. The main character leaned in and asked the girl if every monster in this world only crawls out after dark, because he needed to get it right the moment he first ran into those wolf-like creatures. So he pointed them out again, just so she'd understand what he meant. Tina shot back, yeah, but you've got to remember, there are tons of monsters with terrifying magic that can still move even in the blazing sun. Unlike monsters, bandits don't wait for night. They strike in broad daylight, so heroes can never drop their guard. Kanata nodded along with the girl, and an uneasy chill crawled up his spine because the threat never truly vanished, not even after the trials were over. The boy even turned to our newcomer and pressed, "So where are you headed? Straight to Kadna?" Then Kanata leaned in and demanded confirmation. "You're saying you're under Grandel's Control 2, right?" That tense look on the hero's face screamed anxiety. He'd rather dodge any city tied to that kingdom, but Tina doesn't know a thing. This is basically their first real meeting, and she has no clue about the devastating events that just wrecked him. Malady tells us Kadena is a self-reliant, heavily fortified city built by free traders, and it's still booming today, powered by trade, making it one of the continent's most famous trading hubs. Kanata's eyes went wide, so that's what true freedom feels like. After that, the moment the story hit, curiosity grabbed him by the collar. She admitted she didn't know if freedom was for her, but she lit up anyway, because the vibe there felt absolutely amazing. Turns out getting to Kadna on foot took them about 10 brutal days. By day they tore through the forest, and when night fell, they squeezed into shops to dodge bandits and monsters. Tina was totally obsessed with the stuff in that guy's shop, especially the bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich, plus the milk tea, and every single time she dug in, she practically bubbled over saying it was insanely delicious, while Canada kept snapping, "Slow down or you'll choke." Kanata leaned in and asked the girl if she really meant it. "Our world's been fighting the Dark Lord's army for more than 100 years. She nodded hard and said, "Yes, and this year is exactly the 100th since the first battle." Her words hit the hero like a wake-up call, forcing him to take everything seriously, because when he first arrived and heard the tale of Queen Crusade, he'd assumed the disaster was brand new, like the heroes still had time to prepare. Boy, was he wrong. When he stared at Tina Arnush, it hit him, how much everyone had already sacrificed during these endless years of war, and how the Dark Lord's lands keep swallowing more ground every single day. To fix the mess, rulers across the world launched the dreaded ritual of summoning, but for years now, not a single country has managed to pull it off. For the first time in 12 years, Grandel's kingdom finally caught a break. Heroes from another world got summoned, not once, but 31 times. Kanata immediately understood why. Their class had been moved over to plug the army's soldier shortage. In the fight against the Overlord's army, the people finally saw a sliver of hope, because every single person pinned their dreams on the heroes, the high school seniors, who never once imagined they'd be dragged into war like this. After hearing her out, the hero nodded like he got it all. Then his doubts screamed that he might not be able to live up to everyone's expectations. Tina cut him off and calling him Mr. Canada, gushed that he was strong, gorgeous, kind, brilliant, and just plain wonderful, and that totally left the guy scrambling. Her words hit his face, his cheeks betrayed him with a hot flush, and his eyes instinctively darted away. She reminded him he was the one who saved her life, and the thought alone made her see Akano si Kanata, the shop owner, as a real hero. Her voice shook with pure excitement, and tears of gratitude lit up her eyes. He wanted to thank her, but the doubt hit him like a punch. Do I even deserve this? Every mistake he'd ever made crashed into his mind, one after another, and one brutal question wouldn't let go. Could a guy like him really be a hero? Even if he somehow landed here from another world, don't forget what happened next. He was cast out, branded worthless, and that cruel nickname clung to him for good. He figured it might be better to keep quiet, because he couldn't keep the truth from her anymore. So he decided to just thank her, put on a smile, and act like everything was totally fine. She wouldn't let him shelve the talk for later. She was still hooked, and she pressed him to answer one more thing. Tina tiptoed in, trying to pry what the hero was about to do next, but he shrugged and said he had no real plans yet. Truth was, he never really had any at all. The girl couldn't contain her joy and begged him to stay, swearing her father would welcome the person who saved his daughter's life with open arms. And this fresh newcomer couldn't wait to hear the boy's tales. Sure, he had stories for days, because every time he launched into his adventures, her eyes lit up with pure, kid-level wonder. Kanata hated admitting he knew almost nothing about this world, but he couldn't ignore the chance to live a little with the locals. Then panic hit him hard. What if he became a burden on the girl's family? Still, she smiled and promised they'd be thrilled to have him staying as a guest. When the hero thanked her, she just smiled and waved him off like, of course, that's what you do. Helping others came to her as naturally as breathing, and every word she said felt genuine. By the way, Akinos hadn't even glanced toward the future. There was zero time for that. His store's shelves had blown up with new goods, and now he couldn't ignore it. Maybe this was the exact moment to finally launch his own business. Hiding in the store forever isn't going to solve anything. You've got to crawl out of your comfort zone little by little, learn the world around you, and brace yourself for whatever wild surprises come next. The boy was suddenly hit with this wild jolt of excitement, stunned that having a purpose was actually awesome, because before he'd believed only naive dreamers chase big goals, yet life turned out way simpler, sharper, and crystal clear. He sprinted toward the city with his new, cheerful, sweet girlfriend, and she backed the whole idea like crazy. Normally he was quiet and shut down, but around her, energy practically burst out of him. 10 grueling days later, they finally hit the city of Kadena, and even with their legs burning, hope lit them up. They dropped to rest, soaking in the streets and the sights, realizing the road didn't end here. It was just handing them the keys to the real adventure. The girl jutted her hand toward Kanata and bragged that this was her hometown, telling him, "Look at how beautiful it is." And wow, the view was so stunning you couldn't keep your eyes off it. The city turned out to be absolutely massive. Kanata stared at ancient buildings stacked against towering mountain cliffs, and once he finally got there, he couldn't even wrap his mind around how gorgeous it was. As a hardcore otaku, he immediately figured an anime festival could totally be held right here. Then Tina just didn't get it, because everyone around them seemed obsessed with something completely different. Kanata tried to spell it out another way. The truth was, a ton of people actually lived for it. The hero said that back home, the anime festivals are always packed, just like this, so she leaned in, eyes bright, picturing that wild, fan-united buzz of Japanese culture. Tina said she absolutely loved it here, and that other heroes had already spun her wild stories about Akihabara and Ikebukuro, so she couldn't wait to see them with her own eyes, and the hero was stunned by how totally different everything felt. His mind raced to the future. If he could go back, would he drag this sweet girl with him, and could they finally live in peace far from this messed-up world? She deserves more, and he's determined he can give it to her. Sure, side by side they can chase a whole lifetime of adventures, and maybe even bring the Dark Lord down. But the real question is this: what happens next? Does he finally get to see Tina, the one who got pulled into his world? And can they actually carve out a happy life together? When the hero clocked that winning was nearly impossible, his heart caved in, tears almost spilling. He muttered that happy endings only exist in fairy tales, and the moment it slipped out, his partner just stared, shocked. Tina finally made it back home after everything she'd been through, and pure joy hit her so hard her eyes immediately filled with tears. Like her words were overflowing, the girl snatched his hand again and told him, straight up, they were only here because of him. Then she swore she could never truly repay him, because his help was priceless to her. She begged the hero to let her repay him another way, and Kanata couldn't quite catch what she was trying to say. A young girl begged him to keep caring for her, swearing she'd live only for him, and those words hit him hard, so hard he even wondered if anyone in the whole world could resist those enchanting eyes and soft, tender promises. Kanata tried to reassure her that he hadn't done anything special, but the words jammed in his throat. Her delicate hands trembled as she gripped the fabric of her dress, and he stared, because he'd never seen sincerity and devotion like that before. Honestly, he should thank Tina. He just has to whip up a quick reason. Still kinda stunned, the main character blurted that without Tina, he'd be totally lost in this forest, and God only knows what might have hit him next. The girl lit up at the thought she might finally help her rescue her, and she fired off the request again, wiping away the hero's jittery laughter and his awkward embarrassment. Suddenly, Nata's eyes locked onto something right away. Now it was their turn, and the guards zeroed in on them from beneath their helmets, because the sentinels' hard stares turned the air razor tight. Tina felt like she was floating on air, but the guy stood there totally baffled. Wait, is that really all? Is it seriously that easy? Could Tina's dad be bigger than Kanata ever imagined? If the girl he rescued was really the millionaire's daughter, it'd be straight out of a cheesy romance manga, and Tina just dropped the bomb that she has a special pass. The man stared at the line of strangers and wondered, where did they all come from? Every face was totally different, yet something about them clicked into place. Were these people all residents of Kadena? He let out another heavy sigh about his fate. If he were cooler, he'd be a real hero, and Tina would be the main heroine, so why did he get stuck with such a useless power? Then Tina asked him not to stare so hard because it made her feel awkward. The girl snapped that every soul out here is hunting the exact same past she's chasing, and yeah, from where we stand you can't see a thing, but there's still a place called Zastinia. I couldn't even answer because it didn't fully click. Then Tina leaned in and explained they're temporary workers. They flood into the city to stack cash, then head right back to the wall, and honestly, almost everyone standing in that line was from there. This territory sits past the city's southern wall, and the folks there aren't treated like real Kaden citizens, so the hero pressed, is this place basically a whole different city? Man, this city was massive, tight streets, strange signs, endless twists, and Koret's head was spinning as he begged to himself, don't get lost. Then boom, Tina grabbed his hand. She decided to take him home with her, and it was obvious she was missing her family like crazy. Kanata trailed behind in silence, stunned by how she completely changed the moment her thoughts drifted to them. She flashed a smile and told him she wanted to introduce him to her father ASAP, and the moment the hero saw their fingers locked together, you could practically feel him thinking, so this is how fast everything changes. After weaving through cramped, packed streets, arm in arm and his beautiful partner Kanata finally reached the spot and froze in stunned surprise. A giant building towered in front of him. Was this really her home? So was she really some noble lady he had no right to grab with his hand? Or was this whole thing just the story's way of starting with a wild title, A Bride from Another World, meant for him? Guess what? He didn't even go looking for the truth, but his hunch nailed it. This little girl really is the daughter of a rich family, and she's clueless about what's actually so suspicious. The boy was praying he wouldn't get chewed out for everything he'd done for that girl, even though it didn't feel like anything big. Then out of nowhere, a man stepped in. Tina flung her arms around his neck to hug him, and Donis, yep, that was his name, told her that when he heard about the attack, he decided he'd die. But now he was bursting with joy because the girl and her friend had made it out alive. She shot back an apology for making him worry, though she wasn't the one at fault, because for her, saying sorry without a reason was just how she worked. Then our fresh acquaintance stepped in and introduced her savior to the man. He told them he worked as a butler for the Arnush family, then thanked his savior heart for rescuing Lady Tina, only for Kanata to wave it off, saying it was nothing at all and didn't deserve a thank you. Suddenly, someone shouted the girl's name and pulled her attention in an instant. From her words, Kanat knew this was her father. The man's whole face lit up with relief as he reached out his hand toward her, grateful she was alive and had made it. Kanata couldn't stop smiling because it all turned out perfect. Tina was alive again, back with her father, and Kanata was thrilled he'd finally made it happen. Suddenly, Dad swung and slapped Tina, so what did she do to deserve it? The man tore into the girl, screaming that she'd come back without the cargo, and that's why the family had just lost their prized property. Then he went for the throat, calling her worthless, warning she might not even see home again until she pays for every damage and every lost profit. Kanata's outrage hit like a storm. He was seething with injustice and already ready to step in, until the steward cut him off and said, "This is family business, let it be." But the hero wouldn't hear a word of it, sure. He couldn't land a hit on that father everyone cheered for, but he could at least cut him down with a few deadly words for daring to insult that helpless girl, so go ahead. Let him try hurting her again. He even mocked Kanata as a beggar. Then Tina, slumped right on the freezing road, clutched her stinging cheek where the hit landed, her voice no longer strong, just thin and helpless, as she sobbed and begged Kanata to come to her. The guy threw it in that fat bastard's face. Tina is his daughter, and she nearly died, and suddenly every word he said dripped with pure contempt, like there was no way you could call that monster a father. The tension kept spiking, and the man refused to back off, like he couldn't believe this kid thought he could push it this far. Was he really forgetting the city rules already? Tina begged him to stop, even dropping to her knees. This guy gambled his life to keep her safe, so who's to say that one day he won't strike again, not just saving the kingdom of Grandel, but the entire world. She also dropped the truth. Mr. Canada isn't some average guy, he's a hero ripped out of another world. Hearing that, the brazen man smirked like he'd just won. So tell me, what kind of hero is he if everyone was called and only he got kicked out and labeled a nobody? That's the proof right there. He's nothing but pure vanity and dead weight. He clenched his teeth, begging for a different outcome. Something said personally, not like this, but the thought of getting embarrassed in front of her family made his stomach drop. After all these words, how could he possibly face her now? The father leaned in and warned him. This was the same scoundrel who'd racked up one brutal crime after another. And of course he didn't know those crimes were all made up on purpose just to stain Canada's name. He believed even talking to a nobody like that stained the Arnu family name, so rage flared in him. He shoved the guy out, jabbed a finger at him, and drove him away, while Tina watched with a broken heart. The woman shot up on her feet and blared that Kanata was her hero. Then she made it crystal clear that nobody got to talk to him like that, tears shimmering in her eyes. The boy heard her and froze in shock, because even now, nobody was ever going to believe him anyway. But her father didn't even listen. He yanked her by the hand and snapped that, since she was back alive, she had to get to work, not stand around chatting. Tina hated that with every fiber of her. She sobbed hard, shouting for Mr. Kanata to save her, but he could only reach out his hand. Her voice was so raw and hopeless it ripped straight through his heart. The hero stumbles into the Zastania area, and his jaw drops. This place isn't like the others at all. It's a real slum, with dirt in the streets, abandoned houses looming everywhere, and poverty hanging thick in the air. The man drops a heartfelt apology for his brother's brutal words, and Kanata's like, "No, make it right. I'm the one who should apologize." He has absolutely no business meddling in Tina's family matters, though he can't help thinking they'd split up sooner or later anyway. Even if that guy dragged her by force, it'd only unleash a whole new wave of trouble. The guy with clenched fists steadied his breath, apologized for the boldness, and asked permission to speak his question, and the man agreed. Canada's itching to open a business in the city, and now he's hunting for the perfect spot to set up his store. The man claims you can't trade in this city at all unless you're a citizen. He gives him a new option, then tells him to do it in the load-bearing wall. Adonis says you can live here and trade freely. No chains, no limits. Newbies aren't chased out, no, they're shoved to the edge, miles from the wall, where raids hit harder and faster, like they're being turned into living shields to protect everyone else. Standing there in total emptiness, he feels utterly defenseless and prays that nothing awful is about to strike. Canada lets out a long, heavy sigh. His brand new life in another world is kicking off, and he's hyped, ready to slam face first into every challenge that comes next. Everyone whips around, eyes wide with shock, staring at the guy who just screamed at the top of his lungs. Right near the Kanata store, a signal blasts out, calling people from another world to come crash the place, because that's where the rarest goods have piled up. People step into the store and freeze. Their eyes can't handle what they're seeing, because nothing like this has ever happened to them before, and the man starts thinking back to the residents of Grandale. Before, he barely spoke a word to the locals, but now he's striking up conversations left and right, because he's determined to make this business work, and he'll have everything running smoothly in no time. A stunning girl strides up to the hero and demands, "So, what's the story then?" Kanata grins and tells you this shop is loaded with rare goods from another world, then urges you, "Don't be shy, go on." The whole city gasps in shock, yet people still rush to the stores and start buying anyway. The very first customer grabbed a sandwich, and Kanata's face lit up at how good it tasted, so he vowed to leave a knockout impression, ensuring people would keep coming back here again and again. Then, just like that, an awkward silence slammed down between them. Kanata totally blanked and forgot to set the price for the product. He's terrified because he's never had to pay a single coin in Grendel. Sure, a royal scholarship landed in his lap, but he never even went shopping or bought a thing. The boy doesn't get how heavy money really is, so he scrambles to remember coin names, only to realize he's got just 4 types to his name. A young guy with a slightly rattled brain is desperately trying to piece the whole chaos together. He slaps a price on it, 1 lonely bronze coin, and every single visitor just freezes, jaws dropping in pure shock. And then the whole crowd barrels toward the cash register to snatch up those dirt-cheap goods, sending the main character's nerves into pure panic. The shop snapped shut as evening rolled in. Canada's so exhausted from work that he can barely keep his eyes open. For him, it was pure chaos from the start. Then, later on, a kind woman stepped in and broke down the local currency exchange rate for him. With just 1 copper coin, you could grab as much as you wanted, no limits, no stress. And if a store like that existed in Kanata's world, he'd sprint there every single day. The boy remembers when folks used to grin and snatch up everything they laid eyes on, and now he realizes just how reckless that whole habit really was. He's kicking himself, thinking that if he'd only seen this coming, he would have grilled Tina right then about the local currency. He can't stop thinking about that girl. His gut twists with worry. He wonders how she's doing, and he aches over one fear. Did she end up disappointed in him? Kanata misses her like crazy and can't stop wishing she could see her again, right now. A whole month slid by since the store opened, and somehow he's cracked the local language and finally gotten his body used to the brutal grind of the job. The man slammed down the rules. No more than 5 items per person. They built a restroom just for the visitors. He set the working hours and even carved out 2 30-minute breaks to restock the goods. Yet the sign still screams, 24 hours, even though that couldn't be further from the truth, and the guy's praying the locals won't catch on to what he's really doing. In this store, there's only one cash register humming along, and every bit of support still traces back to Canada, but the locals have already stepped in, fixing and maintaining everything themselves. The hero's already starting to feel like he belongs in this place, like the world just pulled him in. He finally feels like the world clicked into place, like he's found the purpose he's been chasing for years. A man pounds on the boy's door, desperate to pull his attention. Kanata swings the door open and lets Zarl in. Zarl's there to grab the goods. The boy hands him a bag packed with money he earned just yesterday, and the man lights up, praising his sharp trading skills and top-notch work. Zarl grins and teases Kanat, saying he's jealous. Then the suspicious guy he's staring at turns out to be a merchant from the West. They bumped into each other about a week back, right after the store opened. That day, the boy figured he'd finally rest for a bit. Then a stranger popped out of nowhere, and his nerves instantly went on high alert. The merchant grinned, peered through the doorway, and pitched a deal so good it practically felt illegal. The woman's fear spiked. Something about that man screamed suspicious the moment she laid eyes on him. So I went up to the shop owner and asked how he swapped his earnings, only to watch him stare back like he didn't even know what exchange meant. The merchant told him every single item the boy sells costs just 1 bronze coin, so day after day he rakes in thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of coins, and the hero knows the kids already wrestled with the nightmare of where to stash them all, and that's when he started thinking. Zero offers to swap his bronze coins for gold, but you can bet it won't happen for free. He demanded 0.5% of the total for his services, and sweet-talked the guy into thinking it was a guaranteed moneymaker. Even though the young man had his suspicions locked on the merchant, he still studied the offer hard, because the shop really did have an absurd pile of coins. And that's exactly how their unlikely partnership ignited. Right at the start of their business deal, the guy felt a knot in his gut, because he had no idea if this person was legit, yet he kept trading coins with him anyway. But even so, those guys still team up, while the merchant keeps teasing that people here call Kanata a deity, and Kanata goes betrayed and begs him to stop with the nicknames. Kanata can't shake the thought that maybe, just maybe, there isn't truly only one goddess in their world, Ashia. Zarl makes it crystal clear, people truly call her goddess, and once that title is accepted, it flips the whole world, not just Grandale but other countries too, where women run everything and every big name in power is a woman. Sure, if your actions look like the saint's deeds, then you're basically the living embodiment of goddess Ashia, Zarl said, and Nagag nods, but he can't shake the feeling that it's weird. He can't get used to it, because the simple fact that he exists feels like a miracle, and none of it changes who he is. Man or woman, it doesn't matter. A merchant can't believe the people of Grandale managed to chase off a hero with abilities that wild, and he blurts that they're fools, while Kanata's shocked that the rumors spread this fast, because he'd even talked with them himself, and still nothing came of it. The boy can't stop thinking about Tamaki, and keeps wondering how she's doing right now. He leans in and asks Zarl how things are shaking up in Grando right now. The merchant shoots back that exile might be on everyone's lips, but there's more. Other kingdoms are openly backing the heroes, unlike Grandal, which shuts that down completely and won't let a single hero out of the country. Zarl leans in, pressing the question, does the hero really want to know what's going on in the city? And the hero gives a clear, confident yes. Even with a bunch of shady so-called heroes around, he still keeps his real friends close, because he genuinely cares and needs to know how they're doing right now. The merchant tied this all to Canada and promised he'd send his people to dig up every last detail, because if the hero asked, he'd do it all to the best of his ability. The boy froze in shock, then blurted out a grateful thank you. Deep in thought, the young man leans in and demands to know why this man treats him so kindly, like he's getting nothing back in return. The man jolts, totally thrown off, and can't even figure out what the young man is asking. Honestly, in his eyes, Kanata is the greatest hero the last few hundred years have ever seen, and it shocks the other guy more than anything. The merchant decides to tell the truth and admits that, deep down, nobody's actually rooting for the heroes to beat the Dark Lord, and Canada is left reeling at what he just heard. The war with him has turned into a whole economic machine. So if the Dark Lord vanished tomorrow, the nations that barter resources for battles and hire mercenaries would lose their paychecks overnight, sparking a worldwide crisis that could shove millions straight into poverty. That number towered over the monster's death count, and the hero couldn't shake the gut feeling that Grandil was flat out dodging other countries' demands just to keep control. Xeris claims the global food crisis could be crushed fast if only this one guy shows up. In the end, he can conjure any resource imaginable out of thin air, again and again, in endless amounts. That's why the merchant swears Kana is no ordinary girl. She's the real, living embodiment of the goddess Shia. The hero's face snaps into a whole new expression, fast, sharp, and terrifying. He grilled the merchant again, demanding to know why he believed the boy could churn out goods and products forever. And he couldn't wrap his head around how Zaralia figured it out, since he'd only told Shadow about the secret setup of his store. He shrugs and tells them straight up. He hits that store all the time, sets up around-the-clock surveillance for his crew, and still has never once seen anyone bring deliveries in. Zarl points out that even the store going up looks shady as hell, and Kanata finally snaps, realizing he's totally screwed. The merchant grins and blurts his big realization. Everything they sell will be made right here. The young man's jaw drops. He thought he was smart, but not this smart. And now it finally clicks. For their sakes, they'd better not turn into enemies. The hero begged her to protect his trade secret, and Zerla nodded, promising she'd never pry for more answers again. Honestly, he sees this guy as a priceless partner, way more than just another target to wipe out, and he's determined to keep their bond strong because Kanata values him just as much. Zero storms out of the store and swears that today he'll dig up every last piece of news about Grandil and then spill it all to you. The guys are huddling up, trading final words and tearing themselves away from each other. Kanata slams into the computer chair and starts hammering the keyboard like it's about to unlock something big. That sound yanks his focus away, right here. Outside the emergency exit, noise crackles in the dark, and the guy's stomach drops because the locals couldn't possibly know this door exists. Panic floods his head as he races through the worst-case scenarios. Panic claws at him. What if the mercenary Tina's father hired finally tracked him down? Then a voice cuts through the air outside the door. He calls Mr. Kanata like they're old friends. Then the hero snaps into a tense freeze, stunned he even dares to say it. He swings the door open, and boom, his suspicions hit home because he instantly recognizes that voice. Tina rockets into the boy's arms, grinning so wide it hurts. She's finally face to face with Mr. Canada, the guy she's dreamed about forever. They were bursting with joy the moment they met again, like they'd finally found each other after forever, and now life tastes amazing once more. The girl still stands in the hallway, trapped there like the exit has vanished, and she can't get out. The boy keeps replaying the question in his head. Does the girl feel something for him, or not? He even remembers Mimi, his cat, completely obsessed with him, sticking by his side no matter what. The boy squirms with awkward discomfort from the long hug, panicking as he tries to figure out how to break free fast. He shoves Tina away, and she bursts free. Kanata beams with relief, swings the door open, and warmly invites the girl inside. She says yes without a second thought. He turns to her and blurts, "How did you track me down in a city this huge?" The girl says a lady told her the boy slipped outside the city, and now everyone's whispering that his store is already booming, so she instantly got the whole picture, even though she'd been stuck at home and barred from going after him. Kanata snaps, furious at himself, insisting he has to apologize, because he never told the girl that he'd been kicked out of Grandil. Tina just stared at the guy, and honestly, I'd totally do the same. She told him he had nothing to apologize for, and the guy just froze in shock. The girl is convinced this company are real-life heroes, and she can't believe Grandil would screw up so badly by chasing them off, while the folks in Grandil are probably regretting it big time right now. It turns out Tina's been posted at the store since noon, and it absolutely shocked Kanata, because she never once hinted at it before. She's blown away by how crowds keep pouring into his store, and every single one walks out grinning, like he just delivered hope on purpose. Now she can't help wondering, is that really the big dream every true hero fights for? You can't just claim his store sells cheap stuff, because that doesn't prove he's useless to anyone. Tina snaps back, that's not true. She's all in, she swears this guy made it all possible, like his presence turned impossibility into reality. Tina struts through the moment, convinced her powers blow everyone else out of the water, while Kanata can't stop replaying Zarl's words, since even Zarl once bragged the same way. She's the merchant's daughter, so she's been soaking up the tricks of trade since day one. This boy is grinning with joy, but he's still hiding his shyness like it's a secret he can't help. Tina grips the boy's hands to steady him and tells him straight up, she sees him as a real hero. She reminds him that he once saved her life, and to her, that makes him a real hero, while he just wants to sink through the floor, blushing at all the praise. The girl dares to believe the boy thinks he's worthless because he can't fight monsters. But she's dead sure it's complete nonsense. Even if he can't throw down in a fight, he's got endless power to save lives, and Tina tells him straight up to be proud of what he can do. Kanata is blown away by the girl's support, and he rushes to thank her, because the moment she speaks, it feels like a heavy weight finally lifts off his soul. She tells him no matter what twists the world throws at them, she'll stay right beside him. Suddenly, the girl presses in for a kiss, and it hits the boy like a truck, freezing him completely and leaving him totally speechless. He can't even process what's happening. Everything feels unreal. Kanata shoves the shocked girl back, eyes wide as he realizes he's nowhere near ready for this kind of change in their relationship. Blushing with shame, he rejects her outright, and that rejection sends Tina into pure panic. He awkwardly pushes himself up, starts fussing that the break is over, and it's time to open the store, because those customers have probably been waiting and fuming this whole time. Tina says it sounded kind of fake, and Kanata immediately starts stumbling through an awkward explanation. Then about 2 months slide by after Tina comes back. Kanata's shop is still absolutely blowing up, more customers keep pouring in, and Tina jumps in to help the guy running things inside. The girl tells the hero fewer visitors are here, so he can finally take a breather, and he shoots her a grateful nod as he carries the boxes. He decides to slip away for a breather and tells Tina, "Call me if anything goes wrong," but Tina just grins, tells him not to worry, and swears everything is totally under control. Night falls, the store shuts its doors, and Tina strides up to Mr. Canada. She asks if she can help the boy in the store, and that single question makes his whole body go tense and uneasy. The girl already told her father she's headed out for an internship, so she's definitely staying here for a while, and the guy is completely blown away when he hears Tina might end up living with him. She's over the moon they can finally live together, and the guy finally got his head around what happened to him. Tina swears she'll do everything she can and begs Kanata to trust her. Then, caught by that smile, he finally gets it. She's exactly who he's meant to protect. He figures this girl could be even more than he's imagining, and while Tina leans in, watching the guy with bright curiosity, he can't help wondering if every merchant out there is as sharp as Caden and Zaro. All right, he agrees to take the girl on as his assistant, and she's clearly got serious knowledge. Even better, he actually trusts her, and that trust instantly steadies him, so he tells her to lean on him too. Tina thanks the guy and tells him she knows everything about him, so he doesn't have to worry. Then Canada jumps in and snaps, "No, you meant yourself, not the store." But he cuts her off and demands to know again what she meant when she said she knows everything. So Tina fires back that some guy calls her Nachka, and he can't help smiling, because when he talks about her birthmark on her back and all those little details, it sounds downright sweet to him. The boy drops to his knees in shock and blurts out apologies, but the girl just looks baffled and tells him to stop apologizing. The store is still absolutely thriving, raking in fans and customers nonstop. Everything's running like a dream, so thank Tinny, because Canada's eating up and resting in peace. In this world, he's done feeling lonely. His life is so full now that calm and happiness finally settled in. As the evening drifts in, the boy leans close and tells Tinny, "It's already way too late, get some rest." But she's not done yet. She plops in front of the computer, tells the guy to take a break, and then zips through today's earnings like it's a mission. The boy awkwardly grins, because at this point nothing shocks him anymore, except Tina's downright professional precision. He's convinced that if she had the internet, she'd instantly crack how to market their store, posting on websites and launching real ads. After a moment, the girl wraps up her work, locks eyes with the guy, kills the light, and heads straight for his bed. She climbs onto his bed, staring down at the boy who's passed out asleep. The boy bolts awake, trembling, and sends the grill tumbling off the bed. Tina clicks her tongue, whispers that today's just another crushing failure, and Kenneth watches her like he's trying to catch the moment it all breaks. Tina crawls into bed and tells him goodnight, but he keeps his face in his hands, wrestling with the nightmare that once he crosses the line, there's no going back, and temptation is fighting tooth and nail to win. The boy tells her good night and hurries out, and the girl drifts off to sleep swearing she won't quit, she'll try again tomorrow. This is how their days played out. By day, the boy clocked in at the store, and when evening hit, him and Tina would clash in heated arguments. One day, the boy caught a strange sound, and in that split second, his power shot higher, leaving him stunned, because he still couldn't figure out what he'd actually done. Then Kanata snapped to it, only he could hear the lift rising, and before anyone could stop him, he bolted out, shouting to Tinny that he'd duck into his office for a bit. The hero couldn't make sense of what happened. He hadn't fought anyone or even raised a hand, but he still checked his status, convinced the system had glitched. That upgrade hit hard because he realized he could level up without throwing a single punch. Just running the store like a pro was pure power. And now, fresh products, a drone defense system for recon, and a whole lot more that's about to change the game. Fresh new icons have popped up on his desktop, and he's in zero rush to tap them, because the shop might have planted devices made for this world alone. At first glance, they're total mysteries, so he'd rather not click around and trigger something he can't undo. The boy stumbles on a reconnaissance drone, but doubt immediately claws at him. He can't shake the fear it might be unsafe. He prays it won't hurt anyone, then he takes a deep breath and goes for it, aims to launch it. On the camera feed, a drone snaps into view, and it rockets straight off the store's roof. The drone shot straight up into the sky, and the boy's jaw dropped. He never thought it could climb that high. He's buzzing over the new device, and he can't believe the drone can spot someone sleeping on the roof of his store. Out of nowhere, he spots a stranger curled up on the roof, and it hits him like a shockwave. He zooms in on the picture, squinting at the body sprawled out there, and confusion hits him like a truck. He sprints over, rockets up onto the roof, and peeks in to figure out what the guy who's supposed to be at Grand Ale is doing here. From up on the roof, rage flashes in Canada's eyes as he starts screaming at the girl, and she jerks back, totally thrown off by the sudden, brutal outburst. The boy locks eyes with her, Tamaki, and before he can even react, she greets him first. The clumsy girl swings her mouth to finally say what she needs, but she slips, tumbles face first onto the hard floor, and smacks her face like it's the final boss. Tamaki snaps at the guy, furious that he scared her so badly, and warns him, if a single bruise lands on her delicate skin, it's totally his fault. Then Kanata leans in and asks the girl why she's even here. She bursts up to him on the spot and declares she came for him, just him. Kanata stared at her, completely thrown off by what she just said. Zarl strides up to another merchant and demands, "Is it really true?" The man nods hard and says, "Yeah, it's the real deal." A worried man stares up at the night sky, like it's hiding the answers he can't afford to wait for. A thunderous roar rips through the mountains, shaking everything in its path. From out of nowhere, a colossal monster bursts free and hisses, like it's about to tear everything apart. Canada corners the girl and asks how she wound up here, and Tamaki shoots back. During hero training, her levels skyrocketed. She unlocked tracking and search powers, slipped out of the city, and made it to this place. The boy can't stop wondering how that girl even made it through this forest. It's a death trap, crawling with monsters around every turn. Tamaki pulled off her assassin move, invisibility, and vanished like a ghost. She can vanish from sight so perfectly that even when monsters were on her tail, she still slipped away. Then the boy just went quiet, lost in thought. The girl's nerves kicked in fast. Sure, the guy would have been thrilled and blown away, but he just stood there, replaying how he made her pull off two weird abilities at once, while all he could think of was fresh new types of onigiri. Kanata brushes it off like it's nothing, then leans in and admits his real obsession is something totally different. Tamaki nervously admits, with a red face, that yeah, she really bolted from the training program. The girl snaps that the program keeps getting harder and harder, and she can't juggle it all anymore, so the boy's stunned and fires back, asking if she really thinks that's enough to beat the Dark Lord of Demons. She's not bothered one bit. She's sure the elite crew is already swarming Kuramachi-kun, so they'll take the win without even needing her. Kanata can't stop wondering how everyone's doing, whether the girl is really okay, but she answers him reluctantly, like she's dragging her feet. She says the whole third team kept panicking over that guy. Some people even made it because a nearby store was right there, but once he was gone, a few of them snapped and shut themselves off for good. Everyone swore it all matched Kuramoto's story, and they still kicked the boy out for the mess he made himself. With rage boiling in his chest, he snapped that the first team players never gave him a chance from the start, yet Kanata's best friend couldn't shake the worry. The girl leans in and asks the hero if he even remembers Asajiri Reiku, but the truth is, he barely says a word about her. Tamaki snaps that she vanished around the exact moment that guy packed up and left town. And it looks like Minajuki accidentally bumped into her right by the gate. She leaned in and told him, "After Aki Nasukan, the one I've been tracking for ages, finally got kicked out, I've got nothing left to do in this city." From this point on, she chose to head out alone, so she told Nazuki and Kwon to watch their backs, then sent them off with all her best wishes. The boy is stunned when he realizes the girl's been watching him the whole time, so he demands to know why, but Tamaki can't even give him an answer. The girl then starts to wonder if she should have chased him, and the boy cuts in, saying he never once noticed her. The boy asks if it's really okay for one of the 13 to go off alone, and Tamaki fires back that Rakiachin has the power to handle it. But she still has no clue what her power even is. Canada can't stop wondering if that girl's power could help her track and find her target. She throws her hands up in defeat. Without the person she's chasing, nothing can possibly fall into place, and of course she left with every single thing they needed. In this moment, the guy goes straight to a trusted merchant, like he's hoping they've got answers about us, or even Gary, and the girl turns and thanks Kanata. She's relieved he cares that much about Raichakhin, and she thanks him again, like it means everything. For him, none of it was special at all. It just made sense, plain as day, and he truly prayed that every one of his classmates could make it out alive, so they could all get home together. The girl lights up, breaks into a warm smile, and looks at the boy like she finally gets it. She's fully certain they'll all come back alive. No one's getting hurt. The boy figures she can't flex her search skills without a target, so he throws her a hint to get her started. The girl flails her arms and blurts an awkward shout, while the boy just freezes there, totally baffled. Turns out Tamaki already had a keychain of a boy with a kitten picture hanging from her bag, and she was totally relieved he didn't notice it. She fidgets with her keychain, and right then Kanata is completely zoned out. Tina bursts into the room and tells the hero, voice shaking, that the sandwiches are about to run out. She spots Tamaki and blurts out a messy apology for barging in, but before the confusion even settles, Tamaki loses it, screaming purely from terror. She blurts out, "Who's that really nice girl sitting next to me?" And the boy beside her freezes, because he can't forget this is their very first meeting. Kanata points to the girl and announces she's his hired worker, then explains that during the day they team up in the store, and at night they squeeze under the same roof and help each other out. The girl breaks the ice by saying her name is Tina, and admits she's a little clumsy. Tamaki bursts with joy and yells out in excitement. She clocked that Tina was only an employee, but she never once imagined the guy was stretched thin and short on help for the job. She's shouting again, offers to drive her to work, and then Tina jumps in mid-conversation, apologizing for bringing it up. And ever since she started working here, they've finally had enough help, so she figures 2 people is more than enough. She stared at Kanat, begging for his approval, and when he finally registered her words, surprise hit his face. Then he admitted that, thanks to the shadow, everything really had gotten way easier. But even so, workers were still in short supply. Right after those words, Tina's face fell, while Tamaki couldn't stop smiling. Tina shuts her eyes and buries her face in her palms, crushed. Then the boy rushes in to soothe her, insisting Tamaki can be loud, selfish, and careless just like her grandfather. But the truth is, Tina isn't even that bad. The boy leans in, recounts everything to Timoki, and tells him his store level shot up, like, way past what it used to be. They guide her into the store, and her jaw drops at how packed it is with everything. Tamaki grins because this place is packed with all kinds of sandwiches, rice circles, and drinks, and the sweets lineup is wild, like pudding and melon bread. Kanata can't help but beam as he proudly remembers when he used to have just 3 dishes. The girl leans in and declares she wants to spend her entire life right here. She darts into his arms and blurts out that he's the best there is. She dashes around the store, eyes sparkling at everything in sight, already hunting for the perfect cola to pair with fries, while Canada watches her with a smug, self-satisfied grin. She loves going for anything new in her jumps, especially the moment she spots a bunch of treats waiting nearby. Tina bursts into laughter, covers her mouth with her hand, and tells the guy, "Tamaki-san is hilarious." Kanata nods right along. Even with all her quirks, she still looks out for her classmates, especially him, and the boy's basically praying she'll treat him with the same good attitude. Tina flashes a smile and quickly apologizes to Kanata for snapping at his best friend, then declares it's a huge honor for her to finally meet heroes from another world. Tamaki picks her words and declares that starting tomorrow, she'll grind day and night so everyone can finally count on her. The next day hit like a fresh wave. Tamaki snaps that she's exhausted and begs for a break, and Kanata is left reeling at how fast the poor girl just crashed. With the hall empty and nobody coming through, they all agree, no visitors, no pressure, so they take a break together. The boy clocked it right away. Today had way fewer visitors than normal. Then Tina lunged for the door, only to spot a customer still waiting outside. Kanata froze in surprise, because Melty, the Sochi district manager, was already waiting right by the door. Even though they call her the head of the district, the territories here aren't split up at all. She's really just an elder who rallies the local folks with meetings, and she swears she absolutely loves French fries. Everyone here adores Sochi. She's kind, she welcomes you with open arms. Outside the city, they don't just know her as Sachi. She's the district head, the mother to everyone, and she even thanks the heroes for their hospitality. Then Kanata steps up and with real heart thanks her for giving a newcomer like him a place to belong. That woman's convinced Kanata's become the neighborhood's lifeline, so yeah, she thinks they'd better thank him. So she went up to that guy and demanded he set her up with his employees. Tamaki steps up to the woman like he's some kind of hero from another world, straight up copying Kanata's pitch, and tells her he's genuinely thrilled to finally meet her. She grins and tells them it's a huge honor to have not one, but two heroes in the outer district. Tina also tracks down this woman, and she's not shy about it. She thanks her for taking care of them. Kanata has no clue whether Tina even minds where she's from, so she shrugs and tells her, "Seriously, you look like a real angel." She'd been hearing for ages that this was the kind place with a truly sweet young girl working there, and the second she finally laid eyes on the one everyone kept praising, her heart just lit up. Tears of joy shimmered in her eyes as a huge smile broke through. She thanked him from the heart, thrilled she'd ever met this person. Kanata grins because Sochi and Tina finally clicked and became real friends. The boy thanks the district's head for stopping by, but the moment she's gone from the room, his mind starts buzzing. What if she came for something more? She presses a hand to her heart and tells him straight up, she didn't come here by chance. She came to deliver something life-changing. She's absolutely furious, but she's demanding that guy get out of this store. Right now, no exceptions. Zorl suddenly bursts in and backs the woman up completely, while everyone, except Sochi, freezes in terror at the merchant's surprise arrival, not even managing to ask how he got there. He tells them they were so locked into their conversation that they didn't even see him, so he just strolled right through the door like it was nothing. He blurts out compliments to Tina and the leader, then spots Tamaki, and the guy realizes he didn't even clock how many more stunning girls had just popped up around them. She tells Zarl he made it just in time, since she's been talking with Akino-san moments ago. Then the merchant winces, apologizes, and begs her to carry on. To stop any confusion, the woman bluntly explains that this is mainly about keeping Akina's son safe, and protecting the store too. The man stares at the woman in shock and blurts out, "Say that again." She says this land has been ruled by an ancient earth dragon for ages, back when even the current demon lord hadn't spawned a single monster. He haunts the mountains, slumbers for most of the time, then comes down just once every 4 years to hunt for food. Kanata was left utterly stunned. He snapped into a terrified scream and couldn't fathom why he'd only hear about this now, months after stepping into the outer zone. Meanwhile, Zarl just rubbed the back of his head, scratching it like an awkward kid, swearing he was already supposed to know. He tells them that the giant wall in the city wasn't built for decoration. It was forged to shield everyone from a brutal earth dragon, and the boy can't help wondering if newcomers are warned to stay outside, because that monster is the real reason. Canada sits on the edge of her seat, asking herself what happens when KD's, the earth dragon, comes crashing in and the folks behind that wall, because just staying alive isn't enough for her. Kirill explains that most people get evacuated, at least for a while, but a few get crushed by money troubles or their health, and anyone trapped behind becomes a target the moment they can't escape. The rope is baffled. How can the people in this city just sit there and do nothing to help? So yeah, there are probably a few knights guarding the city from behind those walls, and the guards have to be strong enough, right? But if you can pinpoint the exact moment of the attack, why not shove every resident behind the walls and let the attackers slam into fortifications instead? Tina says at least it all turned out like this. In the city, the gates slam shut for good, everyone scrambles to defend themselves, and there's zero time left to rescue the people out in the outer zone. Kanata can't stop thinking, what does this all mean? Tina's voice cracks as she tells the rumor. Right after the last cadets ran through, the outer district got half-blasted to ruins, yet the residents somehow stayed untouched, and she can't remember a single detail of how it all went down. She blurts out that she's terribly sorry, and Kanata softly slides his palm over her hands to comfort her. Tina and Kanata exchange a quick look, and it's clear they're nudging the conversation back to where it left off. With a heavy sigh, she nods and admits they've already gotten the update. Cadiz has awakened, and it's charging straight for them, so at Zarl and his men's command, they start pulling everyone out past the outer wall. Kanata finally figures out why hardly anyone shows up anymore. The chief warns that Cadiz could hit these places tonight, then apologizes for how fast it all spiraled out of nowhere. People around here used to scrape by, living in constant struggle and barely affording tomorrow, until that store finally opened. Now the whole neighborhood's life got better fast, and smiles replaced the stress, and the woman even turns to the hero and thanks him for putting a store right beside her home. Zarl also insists that everyone's secretly praying the heroes make it through and be okay. And when Cadiz goes to bring them back, the merchant snaps his sentence shut, like the whole story, finally catching up. Tamaki steps up and addresses Canada, like the whole world's hanging on his next words. But the guy leans in and begs her not to pull that face. He'd promise anything for it, but right now their enemy isn't just a foe, he's the main monster in the game. As the hero remembers every person in the city, he finally makes his move. Now Tina grips Kanata's hand tight, steadying her every step. He swivels toward Tina, who's perched right beside him. They lock eyes and Kanata gives a firm nod like, "Yep, that's it." With a grin on his face, he proudly announces that every decision's already locked in, and Zarl lights up, thrilled by the news. Zarl says, "I'm telling my men, right now, get everyone to a safe place, because if they do." But Kanata cuts him off, chest puffed out, and declares he's the hero of this store, then vows he'll take down an earth dragon. The boy's words hit like a bomb, everybody's stunned, except Tina. Tamaki fires back, repeating the boy's promise to be a hero and crush Cadiz. They scream at the hero like his words never landed, proving nothing he said hit home. Kanata grips the chair back with shaky hands, totally blindsided. He never expected anyone to fire back like that. The boy waves off the objections and presses the man for every detail, what Cadizes look like, what their features are. But the merchant just yanks his head with a baffled stare like, how are you supposed to beat a dragon if you don't even know what it looks like? But even then he insists it's a built-for-war dragon, muscled, brutal, and so tough it shrugs off both magic and sword hits, which is why it was christened Caddy's asterisk as a straight-up warning. Its whole body is sheathed in armor and thick scales, and even the military can't figure out how to bring it down. The boy clocks that this dragon isn't just dangerous, it's built to shrug off everything, and that realization hits him hard as he weighs his next move. Tamaki's freaking out, sure they're heroes, but she has no clue if they can actually pull this off, so Tina shoots right back, asking if the guy has any plan. The kid already dreamed up an idea, but he hasn't tested it in the real world yet, so right now, he's stuck between hope and what if this totally fails. Canada is thanking everyone in the Outer Wall area for giving it a spot that finally feels like home, yet to make that comfort real, it needs your help. The hero knows every danger waiting out there, and still he turns to the whole room and demands their help. Tina wastes no time and takes the boy's side, telling him she'll always fight for the people she cares about, so that's exactly why she trusts him. She promises she'll help Kanata without hesitation, and the two of them lock eyes with awkward, shaky silence. Tamaki is blasting out loud, and she rushes to help him, because she trusts him and made a promise to protect him. She tells everyone she's been close with Canada for ages, and once she says that, there's no way she can back out. She shouts for help too, but with no special powers, all she can do is rush in, steady the injured, and keep the wounded alive. Kanata can't hold back his joy. He beams, thanks everyone from the bottom of his heart. Zeral's nerves are through the roof, and he has absolutely no clue what to do next. He's freaking out, convinced everything's about to fall apart because of them, but Kenat just cackles and says, if the merchant helps us, then he'll help the merchant too. Zeral keeps badgering that guy to spill the secret plan, the one meant to destroy Caddies. Night is rolling in, and every last prep for the dragon meeting is locked and loaded. Now you just light the lanterns, one by one. The boy throws out a grateful thanks to everyone, then orders the evac, pull the people who have already wrapped up their work down below, and the folks there immediately agree. The hero leans in and stares down in deep thought, like he's about to solve the whole mystery. Tamaki's got full control of the drone. She's just stuck waiting on the store's order to tell her when to fire it up. With a little help from their friends, they finally had everything set and ready to go. Now it all comes down to one thing. Can the hero finally bring down that dragon? Up until now, he's somehow held it together, but the moment is here. A terrifying dragon is waiting, and he's about to face it head-on for the first time, heart pounding with one brutal fear. If he can't defeat it, everyone's finished. Tina tiptoes up to the tense man and asks, trembling, if he's really okay. Kanata blurts out to her that he's terrified, like, right this second. Tina has the hero's back and tells him that as long as he keeps going with her, it'll work out for sure, while Kanata reels from how fearless her confidence is and finds himself wishing he could believe in himself the same way. Tina decides to spill the magical words to Kanata, and when they land, he's absolutely blown away. She tells him that even if he messes up and the entire world spits him out, even the hero can still stand. She'll always have his back, so he shouldn't fear messing up, go for it. She doesn't care if he's kind, brave, or the biggest coward alive. She'll take him in and guard Kanata no matter what happens. And when he sees Tina, surprise hits him like a punch. She only lets out a shy smile, then asks, gently, like a lifeline, if her words finally ease the burden. Her words hit him like a lifeline, backing him up and lighting a spark of confidence in his chest. Then he turns to her and says, you know what, this was a real miracle. Tina grins and beams at the boy, looking totally happy. Then out of nowhere, a thunderous roar rips through the air, and desperate cries from people echo in from far away. Coddies hiked into the mountains and finally dropped down to settle in. The heroes stare in shock as an enormous earth dragon rears up right in front of them. Canada yells at Tamaki to jump in and take point, driving the dragon forward while the drone keeps everything on track. The girl shoots her hands to the mouse and starts furiously clicking like she's racing the clock. The drone rockets straight at the dragon, and Kanada's stomach drops because Caddy's is way bigger than he ever pictured. Tamaki pops out of the hatch grinning, blurts that the dragon tore after the drone, and basically tells everyone he's just waiting for someone to praise him. The girl snaps that she's taking the challenge, even though that dragon is absolutely gigantic, and her knees are already trembling. Tina steps in, fires off some reassurance, and swears everything's going to be fine. The boy answers shakily, like he's terrified, and Tamaki might be the one who just got spooked. Kanata's convinced that this magazine can't shrink too much, like it needs to stay big enough to go toe-to-toe with a monster, and now he's praying he can survive the hit when it collides. The dragon rockets straight for the store, and the heroes clamp down on the rope as Kanata yells, "Get ready, brace for impact." Cadiz explodes through the building, slicing right in. A heavy asterisk thud echoes out, and the guys grip the magazine like their lives depend on it. Canada pops up from his seat, checks the scoreboard to make sure every target is hit. Yeah, they cleared this part, but the mission's far from over. Then he grabs a fire extinguisher and pushes forward. 3 heroes lock in their resolve and refuse to back down. They sprint straight for the dragon, clenching fire extinguishers like weapons in their hands. The boy barks, aims straight now. The dragon spots the heroes in an instant, and terror hits them like a wave. The dragon scrambles to shield its eyes, gripping the armor-like shell that can take a hit, because inside, everything is painfully delicate. The boy locks eyes with Caddies and stares into his mouth just to dare him to laugh at you, while the girl shakes with fear, begs to run back to her parents, then steels herself and charges ahead into the fight. Right here, the man slammed open a store just to mess with Cadiz, because the whole building was built like a shield, meant to stop an assault on the city and keep it from getting wiped out, forcing Cadiz to back off, then giving them the opening to hit again. Kanata confidently hurls fire extinguishers at the dragon, and each hit makes its roar grow weaker and weaker. He shoves a fire extinguisher into his mouth, and Tamaki's face snaps into pure, terrified panic. Even that doesn't make the dragon back off, and worry starts crawling into the man's chest. He needed to yank the monster's attention away from the store, just for a heartbeat, and then he turned to the girl to grab a fire extinguisher, but she was gone, like she never existed. He's frantically scanning for the girl, but all he can find is Tina standing right there. He grabs the girl and demands where Tamaki is. Then his eyes snap to the battered wall of the building, wrecked and ruined. Canada is so terrified, he can barely even let himself imagine a girl falling. Suddenly, the dragon screams and blasts every fire extinguisher straight at the hero. She shrieks in terror and begs the poppies to save her. Suddenly, a terrifying creature bursts in and strikes, smashing the dark-haired boy before he can even react. Out of nowhere, a spear hurls straight into the creature's head and drives clean through it. Then the main character snaps into the moment, stunned but totally clueless about who pulled the trigger. Behind his back, someone starts mocking him and whispers that she did something, and the second he turns, the main character spots Tamaki, only she's already vanished, and he can't find her anywhere. The girl tells him she used her assassin skills to drive a spear straight into the earth dragon's eyes, and when the boy realizes he can't even see her, he just swallows it and quietly admits she scared him. While behind them, the girl who's watching grins because Tamaki is finally okay. Tamaki from the void jumps on the mic and declares she's one of the heroes, and honestly, it makes it sound way too easy for her. The main character starts cheering her on until another girl pops up behind him and snaps, "The real Tamaki, she's mine." Right when it bites down, 2 cylinders in the dragon's mouth crack to pieces, and a deep, gut-rumbling growl explodes out of him. The hero spots the dragon closing in on the shop, and relief hits him because it means they still have time. Before it smashes through the door, both girls rush out and sprint for the city, and the girl nods, backing up fast by climbing down the rope. Tamaki whips around and tells the guy, "From now on, it's you, I'm counting on you." The second girl shoots back, "Just be careful," and the main character flashes a confident smile like it's already handled. "Don't worry, leave it to me." The main character dropped down and squared up to the dragon, daring it to fight, and the thing answered with a furious roar as smoke blasted from its mouth. The boy locks eyes with his enemy and realizes he has to bait him, right up to the very last second. Then the dragon swoops in closer to the building, and the main character yells at it to come even nearer, right when it tears off a chunk from the storefront. He grabs the opening and orders the whole store to vanish. Suddenly, the building the dragon was wrecking just vanishes out of nowhere, and the dragon freezes in shock. The main character beams, because somehow it all goes perfectly, when the dragon drops straight into the pit the store left behind. The boy realizes their traps really did work. Caddy's is finally stopped. He remembers someone saying the preparations were already done, and now the dragon is crumpled in the pit, totally helpless. The moment he thinks of a shop, it pops up right beside him, but every single time it shudders, throws up a puff of dust, and then a gap opens between the store and the ground, ready for him to drop straight in. He can't stop wondering what'll happen if he tries it in midair, and back then he figured a height jump technique would never show up, yet now the timing is perfect, because when he spots the rope yanked, it clicks instantly. That's the signal. As soon as he throws the signal, everyone yanks the rope in sync. Then boom, the main character rises straight up like an elevator. The main character rockets out of the elevator and lands on the dragon's back, screaming for it to try and swallow him, then glares with pure fury at his enemy. The main character screams, "Store," and a building rips into existence right above the dragon, crashing down onto it like a meteor, while the dragon just stares, unmoving. In the next breath, the store-turned projectile slams straight down on the dragon, while our main character is still stuck midair. The dragon lets out a bone-shaking roar, hacks up blood, and the main character hits the ground, right on impact. Everyone's staring in shock because back then no sword, and not even magic, could bring him down, yet this time it actually worked, and now it's clear he's packing terrifying destructive power. The man grins and declares this dragon is ancient, then swears its name fits it so perfectly it feels like fate. With a grim face, the boy realizes the dragon is still clawing to its feet even after that devastating blow. Then it hauls up its front body, growls at him, and the boy ends up lying right in front of it. Then the main character springs up and bolts for the elevator, because he realizes this is exactly what they expected. Right in front of him stands a real ancient dragon, and one hit won't cut it. The boy gets lifted up. With a hard stare locked on his face, he decides to do things his way. He barks for everyone to step back, grips a rope tight, and then the main character lifts off as he commands the store to vanish. Then the main character drops down hard, calls the shop again, and this time they're going to seal the deal on that dragon, right as the guy finally clocks what he has to do and rushes back to work. With serious intentions, the main character decides to take on the dragon. No mercy, no backing down, until it's totally shattered. Then he storms back to the shop, grabs what it has to offer, and keeps launching attacks on the dragon. The dragon screams one last roar, then faceplants into the dirt, hard. Right beside it, the boy drops in, wheezing and gasping, trying to grab air before the fallen enemy's truly finished. He can't help but question whether he'll ever beat that dragon, and then, snap, its clawed paw shoots in front of him, nearly nicking the boy's face, forcing him to jerk back in time as he stares at the dragon, barely hanging on. He knows the second he lets his guard slip, caddies will snap free, then chaos will hit everyone at once. The dragon shifts, pawing the ground like it's about to wake up. With heavy breaths and barely any movement left, the main character suddenly snaps. What if his magic is gone? And as his vision starts to blur, he can't stop wondering, do you even need magical power to use the shop? He's swearing like crazy, then it hits him. Maybe he's just been too sedentary, because the guy looks absolutely wrecked. Everyone up there stares in shock as the main character suddenly trips, stumbles, and starts to go down. He crumples to the ground, spins toward the guys, and the two girls burst out yelling Kanata's name in pure joy. Then the main guy tries to apologize in his head and promptly passes out. The main character remembers the world crumbling around him, and right beside his mom, a little boy sobs and begs her to wake up. Only she can't answer anymore. Right when the main character felt the panic hit, someone called out to him, and he nearly snapped from the shock. Kanata spots two girls ahead, clocking their worry for the boy, and then the pieces click. It's Tamaki and Tina, and he immediately recognizes them. Tina snaps to the guy, asking what happened to Cadiz. Then Kanata suddenly tries to stand, but his body won't cooperate. Tamaki shoots in fast, demanding he calm down and not jerk up like that, because he needs rest. Tina taps the guy's shoulder to yank his attention, tells him he did it, and he snaps his gaze to the defeated dragon, just sprawled in the pit, while tears spill from the girl's eyes as she whispers that it's absolutely unbelievable. People shout in pure joy that George has crushed the dragon from Cadiz, and the whole crowd erupts into cheers, hands shooting up in the air. Then the two girls suddenly tackle him in a hug, laughing like, "We made it," because in the end, everything worked out and it ended perfectly. The sun blazed overhead, and on that very day, the outer wall's long nightmare finally shattered, so the people above erupted in pure victory. The main character lifts his head, breaks into a smile, because he finally realizes the ancient Earth dragon Caddies is down for good. A few days after the main character crushed Caddies, the whole city exploded into celebration. Cadna threw her joy into the sky, and bright flags lined the streets like they were cheering too. Now every single resident is packed into the celebration, city folks and outsiders alike, because everyone's finally spilled out of their homes, clinking drinks together and throwing greetings like they've been waiting all year. But the main character was wiped out, crumpled on his bed, exhausted, because he'd been asleep for days in his 24-hour store, and the t-shirts finally showed up only on the 4th floor. With tears in his eyes, the main character replayed yet another gut punch. Somehow his level never budged, staying at 24 even after he crushed Cadiz. He asks if it's because he killed him in that store, even though he's replayed it over and over. Then he points out that back when he was just working there, his own level kept climbing too. The main character proudly shows off his shop, stacked with hands, wings, legs, and weapons. Then he leans in like, I just need a chance because soon I'm getting to fight back. A cheerful girl grabs the main character and begs him to check what they got in the city. Now they can map out their whole lives, while the second girl nudges the boy to eat even more so he can bulk up and get stronger. He thinks it'd be awesome to grab the title of saddest column. At that exact moment, bam. A girl smacks him in the face with bread, one girl offers him something to eat, and then another girl steps in and tells him not to take it. A few days later, the main character finally clocked back in. Then a man grinned at him and said the cash he made was all because of him, and the main character shot back a heartfelt thank you. The guy says the store's still thriving, promises he'll back the other man up, and snatches the box from his hands. Then the crowd erupts, calling him a hero, congratulating him like crazy, and everyone's finally smiling again, and the other guy just breathes out a huge thank you. He glances around and sees everyone glowing with good spirits, and he can't help it. He's overflowing with gratitude for everything they've done, begging to thank them somehow. Then he blurts out in shock, asking the guy if he's actually serious. The man throws down an insanely loud demand for all of Cadiz, and the main character, shocked but somehow okay with it, hands it over like, sure, if you really want it, take it. The man declares the boy the best, pulls him into a tight hug, and then barks at everyone to get to work, because they're going to unload everything they snagged from those noble swindlers and slap a massive price on it, and the main character can't help but see it. This is real entrepreneurial fire. Thanks to him, the boss threw them this amazing celebration, and the main character can't help but remember how insanely delicious the food was, because for real, he loved every single moment back then. Someone shouts his name and he whips around, already bracing for whatever chaos hits next. Then a chubby man steps up and hails him as the hero of the 24-hour Mazen, saying it's an incredible honor to finally meet him, while behind the chubby guy a man with glasses stands watching. The girl is totally thrown off, because this can't be her dad, and this definitely can't be even her dignettes. The man prays his ungrateful daughter won't mess with his business. Then the main character blurts, shocked, Tina, she always helps me. And the man presses again, so you're telling me that's true. He leans in and tells his daughter she's lucky to have a father like him. Then the truth hits. She's shocked to realize he's really her dad. He presses on, asking if this is the kind of gratitude he gets for everything he's done for her. A man straight up asks a guy how he'd feel about marrying his daughter, and the girl and the main character freeze in shock, until someone lurking behind them suddenly blasts out that he absolutely can't agree. The girl storms back to her father and blurts that he's scaring off customers and ruining the business, and the girl behind leans in, asks the main character if he's Tina's dad. Then he confirms, yeah, I am. After a bit, the girl's guilty face crumples as she apologizes for what her father put everyone through, and the boy just grins, waving it off, saying it's no big deal, he was only caught off guard. The girl asks Tina if she's been gone way too long, then tells her dad is probably freaking out, and Tina's like, Tamaki just has no clue who I really am. The main character can't even tell if he truly cares about his daughter, and on his last visit, he was meant to see everything crystal clear so he could take over his store. Yet Tina insists it probably has nothing to do with her at all. Then she blurts out that her family has a whopping 46 kids, and she's the 23rd in line. The main character and Tamaki are so stunned they practically spit their drinks out, and Tamaki whispers in horror that there are more kids in her family than students in their whole class. So yeah, this is what they call true aristocrats. The man says they can still sit down and talk about what the main character is asking him, about what really happened. He tells Canada that most likely every town around Cadna, and even the nearby states, has already heard how the store's hero crushed caddies, but if that news ever reaches Grand Ale, he thinks they can actually make it happen. Eyes locked forward, the main character shoots back with a stone cold, we can do this. And right now, the Grandel Kingdom is finally stepping up and spotlighting its heroes. Turns out the heroes' four-man squad, guided by the Immortal, stormed right into the eastern cave and hauled the goblins in. Kanata can't help but wonder if things are finally picking up, because the first training battle is already over. Then the man goes on, telling them about how one lone swordsman stomped the swamp lizards in the southeast and wiped them out completely. Kanata and Tina are left staring, blown away that he did it all alone. The man claims lizards are way stronger and way more dangerous, and there's even a rumor that the hero swordsman is the top pick to finally bring down the Dark Lord. Tamaki grins and asks, "You mean the sword-wielding hero, Shiori?" And just like that, it's wonderful because the main character immediately clocks that name. She strides into the gaming club and absolutely crushes it at first-person shooters, yet he clocks that she keeps to herself, hates team play, and in real life she's a full-on loner too. A man demands to know when the brave heroes of the kingdom will finally be recognized overseas. But if word spreads that he crushed the legendary dragon everyone else was too scared to even get close to, then all eyes will snap to him, and Grendel wants none of that. This is a real nightmare for him, and there's no point asking what's so funny about it. At first, the main character just stays silent, then he finally leans in and tells Zariel, "I've got one request." Zariel nods immediately and swears he'll do whatever he asks. Night drops and a crew of riders huddles on a cliff, staring into the dark ahead while a drone hums overhead. Then he watches their whole move on his computer and realizes they showed up way earlier than he ever expected. The main character replays how he used every scrap of intel he got, and with Zero by his side, they tell Grandel where the hero is hiding, right from the shop's location. Then he's dumped on the edge of the city, where they straight up ask if he plans to leave. Tamaki presses him for answers, and the boy finally confesses. He loves it here, he never wants to leave, but he's being hunted, and if the Grandel pursuers track him down, they'll wipe out the whole city. He refuses to drag the residents into this mess, especially now that the caddy's attack threat has finally blown over, and everyone's leaning in, listening to the guy like their lives depend on it. Tamaki sighs through her sadness, saying it's a real shame since she's got close with everyone, and the boy nods along, looking just as crushed. With the city gates finally open, fresh food starts pouring into the outskirts, and that crushing gap between the rich and the poor is about to start closing for real. But he can't stop thinking about how he could finally haul the store's goods out to everyone, and for the first time, this might actually save the day. Tina grins with full confidence, convinced the outer wall residents will finally breathe out in relief. The boy insists Grandel won't need the city once he's gone, yet the moment someone grabs the city's residents as hostages, this turns into a nightmare. Still, the man leans in and tells him, "Don't worry." He says that if things get dangerous, even the local residents won't be pulled into it. No, they'll just pay the money and hire mercenaries from the interior instead, keeping the city safe, and then the man gratefully thanks him. Riders surge ahead as the girls whip around to look back, because Canada knows if he can stall the pursuers and buy Shadow and Tamaka time to reach that hill, then no matter how many more enemies flood in, it'll only be him who can pull it off. From the drone, the main character stares down at the crowd outside the store, and his gut drops when he realizes Mrs. Crusades and the heroes aren't there. No talks, no back and forth. They came for him and only him. Suddenly, the hero spots a bunch of cloaked strangers chanting and carving magical circles in the air, then hurling attacks straight out of them. He can't believe this is real magic. Just when they thought it would work, the magical projectiles slammed into the shop's barrier and shattered into nothing, no damage at all. The knights gasp at this wild twist, and the main character snaps to he has to hurry now. The fire shutters, sealed by magical protection, hold like a fortress. Still, the knights look lost, because it's like they were warned about the shop before it was even rebuilt. One of the knights thrusts his sword ahead and snaps at everyone to stay calm. Don't freeze here, not for a second, because they've got to haul him out of this strange building before anything gets worse. He shouts for everyone to strike, and the knights surge forward in a brutal charge straight at the building, smashing at it like they mean to break it down. The main character hears someone slam the door like crazy, and his mind screams that all these people won't let basic fire extinguisher smoke buy him a getaway. Then he mutters a curse at Grandel, and just like that, someone latches onto the edge of the roof. Several knights are hauling themselves up onto the roof with ropes, and the main character can't stop wondering why the crowd is so huge just for him. One night, something waits in the sky to strike, and the main character finally spots it. Then he realizes just how badly this is about to go. The girls huddle on the cliff, eyes locked on the road ahead, buzzing with excitement but biting back worry for Kanata, wondering if he's really okay, while Tamaki grins with total confidence because he knows Kanata handled Kata all by himself. The main character clocks it again, night smothering the building, and his gut screams this isn't good. He grips a fire extinguisher with a death grip, heart pounding. Then the system blares. The hero's level in the 24-hour store just jumped. The boy grinned because he finally clocked it. Every night training session just stacked experience for him, and that could only help. The main character smiled, shot his hand up, and decided to check his status. That status is basically his whole life story. His one and only real skill is a level 5 shop, and here's the breakdown. Endurance 8, Strength 8, Agility 6, Magic 0, Luck 8. He hasn't mastered a single spell or skill perfectly, but his title still hits hard. Legendary Earth Dragon Slayer ****. At first he grinned when he spotted lunch boxes and a microwave, thinking, this is awesome. But then he notices one thing, and his whole brain just freezes. Canada slumps at the computer, then spots stuff in here that you'd never see in a normal store. Drones, machines, and even magical barriers. And his mind goes, wait, is this a mistake? The protagonist snaps into action and starts hammering the mouse like crazy, clicking and dragging until he hits the icon with the 5 Gatling guns. Then it hits him hard. No more hesitation, he has to grab this moment right now. Out of nowhere, 2 machine guns burst onto the building's roof with that unmistakable rattling sound, and the knights already there stare in stunned shock. They're 2 5-shot Gatling automatic cannons, built to tear down any intruder who tries to breach the place. The main character stares in stunned disbelief and blurts out, is this really normal? Gatling cannons are way too brutal for a world of swords and magic. None of that should even exist here, so how the hell is this possible? And that Impec machine gun is sitting totally empty right now, so Canada pauses, like wait, did I read that right? He double checks, and when the system asks if he wants to turn on automatic mode, Canada nods and slams the button with his mouse. Right out of nowhere, the roof machine guns roar to life and rip through the knights, dropping several in seconds. Then one poor horse panics and bolts from the sudden chaos. After the attack, the knights slump to the ground, still breathing but utterly helpless, groaning like it hurts like hell, and the main character grins because he finally gets it. His power doesn't finish them off, so he can use it without fear. Then he turns to look around, and suddenly, for some reason, he's blown away. He spots a computer icon flashing a rotating store variable function, clicks it, and can't stop wondering how he's even supposed to make sense of it. Then night hits, he's perched on the roof, and something below starts moving, and he's left staring, baffled like, what is happening this time? Suddenly, the store building starts twisting and spinning like it's possessed, and the knights on the roof lose their grip and crash down, while everyone around stands there gaping, stunned by the wild spectacle. Right in front of them, a Night's Watch comrade suddenly topples off the roof with a blood-curdling scream. He grins and says he's sure nothing can shock him anymore, then admits it's weirdly funny, laughs at the absurd thought of a magazine spinning, and grins again as he decides to fire the machine gun one more time, and it starts rotating. Machine guns rattle from the roof all night near the store. Someone's trying to break free, and the moment the bullets hit, others drop hard to the ground. The knights stare in shock, demanding to know what kind of building this is. Nobody told them anything, and now they have no idea how they're supposed to react. The chief commander strides up and blasts the truth to everyone. This mission was handed to them by Lord Drake himself, the Prime Minister of Grandale, so no, they don't get to come back empty-handed. Finish the job, don't freeze up, and drop the whole "who is Drake?" question. The boy stands at the computer, eyes narrowing as he realizes they're demoralized right now, so this is his shot to get out. He slams a command on the screen, and thanks to the store's help, their escape plan clicks into place. Then he decides to gamble on something else. The Queen flips the switch and unleashes drones that blast smoke like weapons. Then they swoop straight over the store and hammer the bandits with a wall of choking haze until they're gagging, coughing, and gasping for air. Then the main character bursts out of the building, spots smoke pouring ahead, and clamps his hand over his mouth and nose to keep from breathing it in, because this is his golden shot to run. While the knights cough and choke, the hero bolts into the open and vanishes into the forest. His company crowds up right in front of the guy, bursting with joy that he finally showed up, calling him a hero. Spent to the bone, she blurts to Tamaka that he has to move on without her. Then the man snaps a robe over the boy's shoulders. The girl swallows hard, thinks it through, and admits what hit her. He can't ride, he'd never make it alone. And if it comes to that, she'll slip past quietly by herself. The girl leaps onto the horse first and yells at the boy to hurry, but he snaps back that his body barely moves. Then Ziriel steps in, screaming for them to speed up. The main character and Tamaki grin at the man, and Kanata turns to him with heartfelt gratitude, genuinely thanking him for everything he did. Zeril shoots a wink, thanks the man for the chance to earn so well, then grins. If we're still alive, we'll meet again for sure. The man sends them off with a burst of luck, and the horse rockets into a fast gallop, making Tamaki and Kanata jump from the sudden rush. The boy glances back, grins, and thanks them, then asks them to pass greetings to everyone in the city. The girl, though, keeps staring at the road with trembling fear. The man keeps staring for a few more seconds, then flicks his hand in the air, while his white horse stands right by his side. A few hours before the legendary Earth Dragon Caddis met its end in the Kingdom of Grandil, right in the middle of the day. In the Great Hall, a girl thanks someone for trekking all the way from the west, then flashes a grin and asks, "So tell me, how can I help?" The boy kneeling before her blurts out that the Western Alliance is in even deeper trouble, because the Lord of Demons has unleashed an army. He introduces himself as Karl Gonsteiner, an envoy from Carterosi, one of the Western Alliance's own countries. The boy gasps that he can barely keep his feet under him, then admits, right on the spot, that demons aren't just real, they're smart, and they can use magic. The knights trade shocked looks, then one guy coughs, and every single one of them snaps upright like they just got the signal. The girl flashes a smile and swears they'll back their country with soldiers and supplies, then adds that they'll send a whopping 10,000 soldiers to the expeditionary force as fast as humanly possible. Carlgan stares at the figure in shock, then admits the rumors were right about its greatness, and the girl vows she'll do everything she can to carry the weight of a great country, fighting side by side with the Demon King. But there's one catch. With a dead serious face, the boy lines in and asks the girl straight up if their brand new summoned heroes can actually come through for them. Right beside the girl, someone drops the terrible news. The heroes from another world can't stop the Demon Lord's army. The light-haired kid takes a seat, grins, and promises that right around the corner, they're finally gonna show everyone what they can do. She nods and says everything's right, then tells him to hang on a second, because the boy is busy staring at something. He sits there wrestling with the truth. Over the years, she's lost both parents to those eerie illnesses, and somehow, despite being so young, she's already claimed the throne. On top of that, the West keeps praising her political skills, and it drives him up the wall. The light-haired boy shrugs it off. That's it. Go ahead, call your rulers. Then he bows politely and respectfully, asking who he is, and even apologizes for not introducing himself yet. 6 months ago, this kid got yanked out of another world, and now he's grinning like he finally made it back. He introduces himself as Kuramachi Yudo, a hero who can't die, and the other boy just stares at him in shock. Carlgan keeps kneeling and leans in to ask Yudo, "Tell me, are you really a brave warrior from another world, and can you forgive me for my rudeness?" Yudo grins and admits this might be a military secret, but his squad of picked heroes already wiped out the Eastern Goblin Camp and the Lizard Horde. He can still feel those wins like they just happened. So yeah, the day they can finally chase their dream is basically right around the corner, and Carlgan is stunned out of his mind, shaking his head like he can't believe it, because beating the lizards is a straight-up legend-worthy victory. No matter what, Carlton is blazing with confidence that he'll craft a killer report for the 3 countries. Then he thanks everyone for listening, stands up, and bows. The boy storms out, and the girl immediately asks Yudo if he's okay. Yudo jumps up and assures her, yeah, everything's fine, but in his head he's already thinking, this loud Western coalition needs at least a damn report on the heroes. Yudo softly lifts the girl's chin, telling her not to panic, and she believes him. If she follows his words, everything will turn out okay. The girl trembles, barely brushing his hand back, then nods and agrees to do exactly what he says. Right in the middle of it all, a stranger barges into the hall and steps up to His Majesty Kuramoto Yudo. An old man in a hat leans in and says he's got to tell them something. Then the girl's eyes go wide, because it's Prime Minister Drake. Yudo stays calm and asks him straight up what happened. He tells them they just heard the news from another world, the guy calling himself the grocery store hero, who still managed to beat the legendary Earth Dragon in Kadana's Western Autonomous Region. The girl from Yudo is freaking out. She blurts that the hero from the store can't possibly slay the dragon, because that kind of thing is straight up impossible. The girl bursts out, wait, didn't he himself brag that he's a villain who does evil while dressing up as a hero? Then why did everyone treat him so mercilessly? She swears she heard he paid for it in the worst way, and still regrets everything. She rushes back to Yudo and fires the question, did he really wipe out the Earth Dragon? Because come on, only a villain would do something like that. Yudo snaps, hold up, calm down, and tells her it's probably not that cut and dry. This could be a lie meant to trick them. The girl screams at the Prime Minister that they have to send a search team to Kadan right now. This is urgent. But just as she's mid-sentence, Yudo darts in, grabs her attention, orders her to fall asleep, and her words fade into unconsciousness. Then the girl drops off to sleep on her throne, and the boy lets out a heavy sigh, saying people with no self-control can spell disaster for the country. He thinks she's still too naive to realize that sometimes you have to lie, because she's just too young. The Prime Minister shoots Judo a question, did you put her to sleep again? And adds that he's just as bad, but Judo ignores it and pivots straight back to the man, demanding to know if his accusation is actually true. He says every merchant in Kadena is buzzing about the hero from that store, so there's no doubt about it. Then Yudo grins and asks, if you've only got a shop and zero combat skills, how in the world did you pull it off? He has no clue what this legendary earth dragon is really like, but he's certain the deputy head, one of the chosen two, was right beside him, and it's him who made it happen, and the moment the dust settles in his mind, Tamaki is all he can picture. Now she's out on the city's edge, and she'll finally prove the truth to them. Then they can wipe her out in one move. They'll claim a monster murdered her, and they'll run straight to the queen to swear their story is the real one. The man demanded the prime minister send a capture team right now, and the prime minister agreed, no delays. He nods and locks in his order, and the system flashes back that he's Drake. Then the truth hits hard. The prime minister of Grandale, the one branded as the usurper, crushed the crusade, slaughtered his parents with magic, crowned a young girl as heir, and now she's clawing to steal every achievement the kingdom earned. Judas grins, convinced he's earned the title usurper, and even the label benefactor, because his moves have already swayed the queen, making control feel effortless now, and he backs it up with powerful magic to judge and prove everything. Drake presses Yudo about the assassin's hero, but Yudo shoots back with confidence, don't worry, I'll take care of it myself. Forget that loser hero, she's way easier to track down, because someone's cowering behind the column, and the man blurts out an apology. Yudo stares at the column with a grim look and snaps that eavesdropping is a bad move, then points out she's here, Shiori. She slips out from behind the column, steps right in front of him, and keeps a sword hidden behind her back. The girl blurts out that she just got here and hasn't heard a thing yet. Then the boy steps up too, and with a small, sly smile she asks if he isn't worried she might have caught something she shouldn't. The boy taunts her, then shrugs that he doesn't care at all, saying she should be more flexible since they're classmates. He presses, so is that really how it is? But the girl snaps back, apologizing through a wave of annoyance because she doesn't care either. The girl stands right in front of him and insists he isn't plotting against their main mission. Then Yudo answers, saying that as the leader, he puts everyone's safety first, no matter what. They crushed the Dark Lord and made it back home safe and sound. The boy can't believe it. He laughs like it's a joke, but then they hit him with the truth. It really happened. It's a miracle. Everyone's alive and thriving, everything ended the right way, and honestly, it's straight up unbelievable. The girl grins and claims they can answer with a strike, unlike everyone else. Judas smiles right back, then snaps that as a hero of this country he can't disobey orders, urging her to stop acting selfishly from now on. She exhales in pure annoyance. She presses Yudo for where the picked group's participants are right now, and he grins. Everyone's already hit the 3rd level and is stronger than ever, so she finally gets it. The girl holds up every finger and declares they've reached the 5th level, swearing that acting solo now hits way harder, while the boy just stands there stunned, and she marches off, shouting that the legendary Earth Dragon has finally been defeated. Suddenly, the girl lit up with a grin and gushed that the legendary Earth Dragon sounded like the wildest adventure, plus she wanted to jump in too, wondering what level he was at right now, because if he outpaced her, that would be a total tragedy. She skips ahead with a huge grin, wondering if she'll actually run into him somewhere on the road. Then 2 Night Watch soldiers round the corner, and it clicks for her. He's already heading for Kadena. When the Night Watch calls out and thanks her for everything she's done, she straightens up and plays it totally serious. The queen snaps her eyes open and stares forward. Yudo grabs the girl by the chin and fires off, asking if she's okay, while she wonders whether he even managed to get any sleep. Then it hits her. She has to find that shop hero and learn what went down. Yudo leans in and tells the boy to make sure she listens closely. He leans in and tells the girl the store hero was really a cold-blooded villain, an evil hero who served a dark lord and terrorized the city, so that's why she kicked him out of the kingdom, and she stares back at him stunned, while he presses, so is it really true? The girl flashes a sweet smile and nods along, and suddenly he realizes his charm isn't hitting hard enough yet. He'll need more time, so he grits through it, shoots an ironic smirk, and turns to the queen to make sure she's understood him perfectly. On the table, a bunch of yummy, ready-to-eat dishes sit waiting, and our main guy and 2 girls grin as they clap their hands together, right before they wish each other bon appetit. The girl tells him that Yakiniku's boxed lunch is the absolute best, and he can't believe it, because in another world, he's actually getting to chow down on a hot lunch in a box. Not like before when all he had were just a couple of servings from Gary and tea. Tamaki munches his food and blurts that he wants to head out to the store, but the guy snaps at the girl that she's not really that important to him. 5 days have already slammed by since they tore out of the city of Kadena. Now they're riding west, hunting for a place where Grandale's power can't reach them, and they're charging on horseback. Food, clothes, and shelter are all waiting right in the store, so they never have to stop in a city and wipe away their tracks, and the main character grins like, honestly, How convenient is this? He's staring at his shop now at level 5, realizing he's got weapons on hand, and that his whole perfect store dream has flipped on its head. Nobody saw it coming, but hey, that's life. The real truth is he's gotten way stronger. They piled in all kinds of goods and items, so many it felt unreal. Then Tamaki grabbed something off the stack while the other girl inspected an item, turned, and looked right at Kinodi. She blurts that she has no clue how to put on this lingerie, then turns to him and asks him to show her, eyes darting shyly back over her shoulder, when Tamaki suddenly pops up behind her, grabs her by the arm, and declares that she'll explain it all herself. And for the people from this world, and the ones who got dropped here from another world too, stuff just kept getting crazier, because everyone stared in shock at a single box. Magazines, manga, books, even photo collections started showing up there too, straight from another world. And the craziest part is, everything people read today had already arrived in that place as well. You could only snag one type of book a day, and the ones you got would randomly shuffle in. Then the guy finally clocked it, with a punch of disappointment, that finishing the whole collection would take years. Tamaki snaps at the guy, stunned. Wait, this is all from our world. Something feels wrong. The main character shrugs it off, says it's definitely close, but then adds, maybe this is a parallel world instead. With a grim, focused stare, he realizes there's zero info about their class's disappearance. Tina blurts out in shock about all the magical gadgets, from stores and cinemas to gaming consoles, household appliances, and amusement parks, because she's never seen anything this incredible, and with her joy lighting up the place, everything's perfectly all right. Tina gapes at one of the magazines and blurts that this Women in Bizarre Poses book is crazy interesting, great pick. Tamaki then snaps at the guy for ordering it, because this photo collection from another world has been banned since day one. Go past this point and you'll step straight into the territory of the United Three Western Kingdoms. So the girls press again, demanding to know what this union even means. Tina grins and says these countries are getting battered by the Dark Lord's army, so they vowed to back each other up, and this territory is even more advanced than Grandil, which sits out east. But to reach it, you've got to cross the gorge known as the Abyss of the Dark Lord, and the main character is blown away when he hears that. The main character blurts out, is this about some castle? Because he's not ready for all that. Then Tamaki snaps back, nope, it's just a name, and says he still has to crack this problem before anything can move forward. Tina grins and says, just like Tamaki said, the current Dark Lord's castle really is on his land, way farther west than the Three-Country Alliance. Tamaki gets a jab from the boy, who tells him not to get cocky, and Tina, man, she's beaming like she just won. They say the Dark Lord's Gorge was the monster's secret hideout and final grave, where terrifying beasts served the Dark Lord, the one who once ruled the whole world. And because the Dark Lord's curse has already dragged them to the bottom of the abyss, they can't choose anything anymore, and that horror slams straight into Tamaki's heart. Tina tells him this isn't just about him. The monsters are involved too, but traders have safe roads they always use, so he can finally breathe easy. The guy lets out a long sigh and admits it genuinely feels reassuring. He presses them if they beat the Dark Lord standing right now, won't a brand new one just crawl out next? Tamaki admits it could happen, but then asks the real question, what can they do about it? And just like that, Tina's smile dies, her sadness hits harder. After that, she leans in and tells her friends she feels something's up. She's not totally sure, and she's got zero proof. She tells them there's a legendary book called Forbidden Knowledge in this world, but it's damn near impossible to find, and the main character and Tamaki are left staring in total shock. Tina claims people swear the church torched most of these forbidden books, so nobody else would ever get the chance to read them. When she was a kid, she tripped over a forbidden book hidden in Kadina's underground library. Then curiosity grabbed her, and she snatched it up to read, stunned by what it revealed. Tina's face twists with worry as she blurts out that the Dark Lord showing up in this world was forged by heroes who were summoned from another world. Then the main character and Tamaki just freeze, completely stunned by the bombshell they've heard. Tamaki blurts out, so this means we're becoming Dark Lords now. The boy smirks and says, to crush the Dark Lords, we pull in heroes from another world, and then those heroes become the new Dark Lords. And just like that, the whole thing grinds into the same endless cycle. With her eyes shut tight, the girl says there's no way to verify those words anymore, but she still recalls this. Back when heroes were dragged in from other worlds, the ones with special powers always end up turning into Dark Lords. In those ancient days, people already knew this, so the moment someone like that showed up during the hero selection, they wasted no time trying to get rid of them for good. Tamaki flashes a smile and checks if they're okay, like, is nobody messing with you? Meanwhile, the main character can't shake this thought, the kind of hero who might someday twist into a Dark Lord. The only name that hits his mind is Yudokura Modi. He can already picture the man clearly, and he's sure he won't be the last ruler. After that, the main character grabs Tina and demands to know what's written about those abilities and what they're supposed to make of him next. The girl admits with a heavy sigh that this part is damaged and it's messing everything up. Still, the text shows it only relates to special abilities that don't match the usual skills of other heroes, so you can tell she's genuinely terrified. The main character claims his shop is special too, and if you can say that, then there's no denying it. No Dark Lord is anywhere to be found, not even in the slightest way. Tamaki's convinced those protective measures are straight up dangerous, but he knows the real fix isn't that. Then he snaps back to something and shouts that the outer wall residents also need warm meals and sweet, tasty treats. The main character grins and tells the girl she's way too cheerful and clumsy to be a real killer. Then her eyes widen as she blurts that, wait, is he just trying to compliment her? Tina beams, wraps her arms around the girl, and gushes that Tamaki is a sweet, kind hero she loves more than anything, while the main guy watches with obvious displeasure, and when he finally asks Tina for permission to fire off one more question, she nods and lets him. After the Lord is crushed, the main character leans in and asks the girl straight up, is this hero really from another world? Then the girl pauses, eyes narrowing, and really thinks through Canada's question before answering. The girl panics and blurts that the legends never tell what comes next. One story claims some people stay right here for the rest of their lives, disappearing into everyday life like nothing ever happened. This confirms it. Special abilities are born once in a blue moon, passed down from distant ancestors who carried the blood of heroes, and it all centers on a brand new child who's just been brought into the world. The main character gets what those words mean and immediately remembers the girl, and she can't help thinking, if this is real, then maybe every word Crusade said actually was. Kanata leans in and tells Tinny that Queen Grandel swears there's crazy powerful magic that can send the heroes straight back to their world. Then Tinny fires back, asks about the Queen again, admits she knows nothing about her at all, and blurts out an apology. Grandel is a legendary kingdom that's been hosting hero summoning ceremonies for ages, so it's totally possible they've tucked away some secret magic from another world, magic nobody else even knows exists. Tamaki nods and admits the whole story's right here. Yeah, she's a little scared too, and now, like it or not, they've got to defeat the Dark Lord. Then Tina blurts out and addresses Kanata and Tamaki all at once. The girl stares at her two friends with worry in her eyes and blurts out, if we beat the Dark Lord, will both of us make it back to our home world? Her friends freeze, totally shocked by the question. Just when the main character finally remembers he wanted to go home, the girl bolts in and slaps both hands over his mouth. Suddenly, she drops her arms, wraps herself in a tight hug, and blurts out an apology to the two people sitting right beside her. She asks if that's why they're finally pushing ahead now, and says first they've got to head straight for the alliance of 3 Western countries. The main character and Tamaki lock eyes with the girl, taking their time, then it's go time for the journey. Tamaki jumps in to help Tinny, while the main character keeps staring off, quietly thinking through something that weighs on his mind. The main character gets hooked on the idea of what the earlier heroes felt in those life-changing moments. Then, when it's finally time to choose, he tilts his head up toward the sky. Then they finally kicked back into motion. After weeks of grueling travel, they slammed into the gorge of the Dark Lord, right at a looming signpost. Their whole squad gasps because the gorge floor vanishes into pure darkness, like it's swallowed by something unreal. The thought of demons down there is enough to freeze the blood, especially since these aren't just any monsters. They once served the Dark Lord in ancient times and somehow survived. And they're every bit as huge as the Caddises, maybe even bigger. He honestly figures the Dark Lord who once owned him must have been a total legend, way cooler than Cades. He demands to know how he could have lost it all, and Tina fires back that the old books never mention it, so now she's just as hooked as he is, desperate to figure out how it really happened. The main character says he heard something just like it during hero training, then whips around, only to realize Tamaki and her horse are gone, and he blurts out in shock, where did she go? Tina tells him that, as far as she remembers, Tamaki was gearing up for a reconnaissance mission, and back then she begged him to be careful, yet he ignored her, and now he's staring at Tina like, so you're really serious. She snaps in annoyance that she's been running solo for ages, and he instantly remembers every time she ditched him and their friend, always to chase the cat or grab food. The boy tells Tinny he'll go hunting for her right now, and insists she gets some rest first. She nods along and tells him to be careful, then he gives a quick nod to the girl who's still standing by the horse. Then the main character strides down the canyon, scans every corner, and boom, spots something that stops him cold. He spots the silhouette, and there she is. Thank God she hasn't gone far from them, because the moment he clocks her, something hits him hard, like a shock to the core. The boy is totally baffled. He watches a girl sob, scream, and rage bang on a wall only she can see. Then someone laughs and shouts that he's still alive, and he just freezes there, silently staring. Beside the girl trapped inside a conical crystal, two more people stand, one on the right, grinning as he tells Canada, "Man, it's been ages," and points him out as the guy from the store. His body freezes the second he spots Kanamori and Natori Mitsuki right in front of him, while the girl with glasses stands there like a human barricade, her face dead serious as a shield mage. Kanata acts like some quiet, plain girl in glasses, but the truth hits hard. She's a total stalker, obsessed with Kuramachi, and she keeps slipping around the corners to watch him nonstop. Both snap their eyes on the boy with pure rage, and he finally gets it. These aren't challengers at all, just two meek, obedient assistants in glasses, lowly servants, and even Mitsuki is standing right there with them. Kanamori says the protective field blankets everything so perfectly that you can track down the exact person, or the whole group, and once you've got them in the barrier, you don't just trap them, you shut down their abilities too. He questions the main character like he's trying to poke at him, and when Mitsuki hears it, rage finally starts to burn in her, while Tamaki shuts down, staring, clueless about what's unfolding between them, until the main character clicks that Mitsuki's mad because her ability is already kicking in. Kanamori bursts in saying they've already snagged the vice president, and that news hits Tamaki like a punch to the gut. Kanamori brags that he's the biggest criminal in Grandilly, then vows that Kanata will pay for every last thing he's done, snickering with pure contempt as he jabs a finger straight at the main character. The main character screams at him through clenched rage, "I can't believe you're accusing me when I've been set up," and the guy shoots back with a sharp, ironic grin. "Oh, what a coincidence. Everyone says they're innocent when they're guilty." Then the main character snaps, "So what kind of justice is this when you're holding people hostage?" And it only lights the fuse harder. His fury explodes. Kanamori grabs the main character and begs him not to give in and sink under the water's crushing pressure. If he can last, win, and hold on, then maybe the girl who's been locked away will finally be set free, and the main character can't stop thinking about it. Then Kanamori rushes in and blasts the hero with a sinister stream of dark water, slamming a massive wave straight toward him. Tina sits there, lost in memories of her friends, replaying every moment they ever shared, and she can't stop thinking, if they really take down the Dark Lord, then she'll have to say goodbye to both of them, forever. Beside her, her horse just stays totally calm, chewing away like nothing in the world could shake it. Suddenly, she hears splashing like water, and it sends her fears for Canada and Tamaki skyrocketing. Suddenly, a thunderous rumble crashes through the air, and the main characters, enemies, freeze in pure shock, because the store building appears right in front of them like it was yanked into existence, leaving everyone stunned and speechless. A flood of water surges into the store, spreading left and right like it's got a mission, yet it never even brushes the main character. The bespectacled boy shoots Canada a furious question. Did he really use his shop as a shield? Then the main character flashes a smile, apologizes to Kanamora, and admits he's not the same anymore, raising his hand as if he's about to make his move. Amori freezes and rage starts to boil inside him, while Tamaki spots it and grins like he just won. The guy in glasses says it bugs him, and the main character is left completely clueless about what's going on. Kanamori snaps his hand up in pure rage, blurting that he can't stand that smug face, because that guy has no clue what he's about to unleash. But then Kanamori just freezes dead in his tracks, silent, motionless, while the main character jumps up and shields himself with his hands. Then the whole room goes dead quiet, and the main character zeroes in, watching something with laser focus. Kanamori suddenly erupts into violent coughing and writhing pain, dropping hard to his knees, while the girl beside him stares in shock and Kinata blurts, "What happened?" The man with glasses explodes into rage, stomps off like he's fuming, and demands to know what the main character did to him, because he could breathe. But the main character is stunned since he did absolutely nothing. Then someone whips around to look at Kanata and Tamaki, and that same furious man snaps back to them too. Turns out it's Tina. She's staring at the main character with this starstruck look. The guy's stunned by her presence, but Kanamori's smirking like she's grossed out, eyes locked on the girl. He asks them straight up if she's mixed into all this too, and right then, the main character spots water pooling near the boy's hand. Kanada yells at the girl to run, but Kanamori just laughs, too late already, and he's ready to unleash that dark stream of water once more. Then the main character barrels in to help the girl, and when she sees him hurl his hand toward her, surprise hits her face as he blurts her name. The girl tumbles off the cliff, and the main character rockets forward, snatching her midair before she can hit the ground. Then both of them plunge into the abyss. He glances down with a grim face, and the next second, he snaps into full-on screaming. Then the main character snaps back through his memories, reliving his wild life in the big city. He remembers the girl ahead of him flashing a cheerful wave and shouting, "Good morning," while the boy beside her joins in, so he rips off his headphones and answers them right back. Tamaki grins at the sign and practically begs, "Let's go in after school." The main character lands in his classroom, and instantly everyone bursts into loud, cheerful "good morning" like they're all in on the same secret. Some were laughing with friends, others were glued to their phones, a few were buried in a book, and the rest sprawled out and started dozing off. A tall blonde strides into the classroom and snaps, "The moment the teacher walks in, we start the morning meeting." Then he points everyone to their seats because he's holding something in his hands. Suddenly the whole office feels this eerie energy in the air. Everyone whips their heads around, stunned, asking, "What is happening?" And then, out of nowhere, someone erupts into a full-on scream. He groans in his sleep, cracks one eyelid open, and stares up in the dark like he's sure he just relived some warm memory from the past. The main character spots a hole punched through the ceiling and can't help but wonder, did the store save him? Right then, he looks closer and finds Tina sprawled, lying unconscious right over the hole. The boy blurts in shock, "Are you okay?" Just as the girl snaps awake, smacks the main character right in the face by accident, and he winces as she stares at him, utterly confused. She whips around to Kanata and blurts out that it's all her fault. Then the guy smirks, winks, and claims it was him who dragged her into this mess. The main character suddenly pulls her into a tight hug, and she's completely stunned. Then he blurts out that he's just relieved she's okay, and you can tell he's absolutely overjoyed. Suddenly the girl's face turns calm. She breaks into a smile, throws her arms around the boy, and starts crying, overwhelmed with happiness. Then both of them spring up, and the girl asks Kanata where they are, so he stares out the window and spots, right at the bottom of the Valley of Demons, shadowy monster silhouettes lurking in the dark. They're strolling along the cliffside when a monster suddenly cuts them off, right there in front of their eyes, and the main character dials his store while Tina twists around, terrified. Then they both hit the stairs. He charges down first and proudly calls it his underground hideout, because he could feel something was off the moment he stepped in, yet everything still looks almost exactly like a comfy office. He stands at the computer, eyes locked on something massive waiting just beyond the door, and thinks, this room feels safer than the upstairs office. The girl nods and the main character wastes no time. He decides to scout the area first, taps the drone icon, and blasts it just outside the building to take a look. Just like that, they whip around, and there it is, a massive dragon crashing into view. The girl stares and blurts, "Is it a cat?" Kanata shuts that down fast, saying it's definitely not. This thing dwarfs the dragon he already took down in Kadena, and the color is totally different too. So yeah, it's probably a whole other kind. But it's not just one dragon up there. There are several, all at once, and the boy's serious face tells you he's finally reached the absolute bottom of the Demon Valley. Suddenly, the girl spots something, jabs her finger at the screen, and tells the boy, "Look, something round is barreling straight toward us." The main character is in full-on horror. This thing just tore through the store and vanished without leaving a shred behind, and now his shop is completely obliterated, while the girl stands there trembling, terrified out of her mind. The girl glances back and blurts, "Why did the shelter get left standing?" And right when she says it, the main character realizes the same thing. He says that even when the store got wrecked, nothing outside shook or even crackled, like this place sits on its own, untouched by the world. And right now, the room they're in is swallowed by total pitch-black darkness. The main character can't believe how weird this mechanism is, but he's also relieved it exists at all, because something in the back of his mind insists it's setting him up for whatever trouble comes next. She decides she'll push her limits and find out just how high they can climb. The drone climbs step by step, 200 meters, then 300, 400, 1,000, 2,000, until it finally rockets up to 4,000 meters in the sky. The main character blurts out that the drop here is insanely deep, and just as the girl spots a strange light, bam, something explodes, the drone's feed vanishes, and both of them go wide-eyed. The main heroine can't shake the fear. Could this be the exact demonic, enchanted seal TK warned about? She's heard the rule. Once a curse drags you down to the very bottom, there's no escape. She blurts out that she's seeing it for the first time, but right in front of them a terrifying magical barrier looms, humming with power. In a jolt of horror, the main character gasps whether this means they'll be trapped in this valley forever. Then the screen flashes, no signal at all. The main character and the girl bolt forward in pure terror, and as the boy screams at Tanya to push harder, the girl shakes with fear like she can't even breathe. Canada yells at Shadow to hit a lightning dash, and the girl nods and commits. Then the guy snaps for a store. The store materializes right in front of them, and they barrel inside just as a massive dragon looms behind their backs. The girl snaps at him to hurry, and the main character stretches his hand out somewhere in the chaos. The moment it happened, the store's walls blew apart into rubble. Dragons ripped them down, right before the chaos hit, and Claude Pa cuts through everything that dares to cross him. The main character tumbles down the stairs and grins like it's a sign things are finally getting better at the new house, right as Tina bursts out screaming his name, while the guy sprawls on the floor convinced he's still stuck in some unreal game. The dragon freezes with shock, Pa still gripping the door like nobody bothered to warn him. At least the supplies got refilled. Then the main character hears squeaking. The system pipes up that the store level just went up, and it hits him so hard he can barely believe it. Then that same notification keeps popping up again and again, and every single time the main character freezes in shock. He thought it was a one-time glitch, but no, it's hitting him back to back. Tina stares at the guy, jaw dropped in pure astonishment. The main character blurts out that his level shot up by 4 out of nowhere, and joyful Tina lights up like, "That's just wonderful." She leans in all curious and asks the guy if anything new is happening. Then the main character throws up his hand and decides, right then, to go see what's going on. A new table drops in loaded with fresh products and household stuff, and the main character stares in disbelief, because the lineup feels like a real store now. Tina can't even hide her shock either. He's thrilled about it, but now the real problem hits. Food won't fix everything. Out of all his stuff, there's only one shower cabin, so he shoves inside and starts picturing what the bunker might look like. The boy snaps at the girl, asking if she's really giving him a choice in a hopeless mess, then demands to know where that strong weapon even is when their store is barely standing. Canada crumpled under the table, slapped his hands over his eyes, and tried to block out everything. Then he turns to Tina, breathless, and admits he might not be able to save her, because he just doesn't have the strength. Tina snaps that he can't fall apart. She grabs the boy's hand, flashes a bright smile, and tells him they'd be doing themselves a favor by taking a shower. No worries, she swears it'll help. He stares at her in shock and calls out her name. She grins and offers him a snack, because she showed up with a whole spread of tea and sandwiches, and when he asks if there's anything to eat, she laughs, saying she packed all kinds of food for exactly this moment. Tina flashes a smile, tells the guy, "Let's figure out how to get out together, don't freak out," and promises him that once you eat, your head clears, smart ideas start flowing, and even in a deep chasm, it feels a lot less hopeless when you're not alone. Still, the main character can't shake that uneasy feeling. The boy tells the girl she's right, and insists it's still too soon to quit, then thanks her for never stopping to back him up, while Tina lights up and says she's just happy to see him back in a good mood again. The girl flashed a huge smile and admitted they hadn't had time to be alone together in ages, and the boy snapped, "Wait, what you just say?" After that, they shut themselves away and hid in an underground shelter, while the girl stepped into the shower. They traded blows and defenses again and again, and his rank still inched up by just one spot, so that tiny gain crushed him.